My brother failed the postgraduate entrance exam but lied to our parents that he had passed. He rented a place in another province, spent all day gaming, got hooked on high spending and tipping female streamers, and ended up with a 200,000 yuan debt from online loans. After discovering this, I quickly informed our parents. Our parents brought him back home, gave him a beating, paid off his debt, and ever since, they've kept him locked at home, watching him closely to ensure he studies properly. My brother passed the exam on his second attempt. The day my acceptance letter arrived, he pushed me into the family's deep fryer. I held on for 5 days in the hospital bed. Right before I died, he gripped my bandaged hand and sneered, "Did you think ruining my image with our parents would make them love you more? You're just the spare part in this family," he said. I drew my last breath under his gaze of arrogant contempt. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to the moment when I discovered his lie. When he opened the door and saw it was me, my brother was first surprised, then his brows furrowed deeply. "What are you doing here?" he asked, holding the door with one hand, leaving just a crack, his tone wary. I obediently took off my backpack and opened it, revealing a bag stuffed full of sausages and cured meats. "I'm here for the summer camp, and I thought I'd drop by to see you." I kept my eyes fixed straight ahead, not daring to glance inside the house. My brother reached out, grabbed the bag of prepared food, took it inside, said, "Wait here," and then slammed the door shut with a bang. I stared at the closed door, feeling a moment of disorientation. In my previous life, I had also attended the University summer camp, come to his city, found my brother's rental place, and discovered his secret. He hadn't actually gotten into graduate school during my senior year. My parents urged my brother to find a job. He refused outright, saying that just having a college degree was practically useless now, only good for landing a 2,000 yuan month job at some small outfit, and you never knew when you'd get laid off. My mom timidly objected, saying she'd heard that so-and-so's son had landed a good job at a reputable company after graduating from university, and it seemed he was making quite a bit. My brother scoffed and said, "Those people all have parents who can pull strings." "Do I?" My mother fell silent. My brother said he was going to take the postgraduate entrance exam, and he was aiming for the top school in his field. "If I get into this program, I'll be among the best students in the country in this field. Things will be completely different after graduation. I'll have my pick of relevant jobs," my brother said with full confidence. He bought every review guide he could find, spending a whopping 5,000 just on the legendary internal university question banks. Then he turned down all internship offers and job interviews, ignored every civil service exam, and threw himself completely into studying on campus. My mom was over the moon, saying her son was making her proud, ambitious, and ready to fight for his future, and that the family would support him no matter what. After the exams, my brother called home with the good news, saying he hadn't let anyone down and had gotten into grad school on his first try. My parents were, of course, absolutely thrilled. They even threw a celebration banquet with 20 tables. At the dinner table, my dad got drunk and put his arm around my brother's shoulder, saying, "You're hardworking and smart, just like me. The Zhou family is counting on you to bring honor to our ancestors." That's how my brother got into school, went to another province, and enrolled in University. Today he won a scholarship, and tomorrow he took first place in a startup competition. My parents sat at home, stringing beads, murmuring about how my brother would land a job at a big company after graduation, earn a six-figure salary, settle down in a big city, buy a house, and then they could move in with him, living out their retirement like urban elderly couples. It wasn't until I went to City to find him that I discovered his rented place was a mess, and when I asked about school, he was evasive. Something felt off. I went onto University's official website and searched through everything. That's when I found out his name wasn't on the admission list, not on the departmental roster, and not in any of the competition or scholarship lists he'd mentioned. I wrestled with it for days, but I kept coming back to the same conclusion. My brother was heading down a dark path. If someone didn't pull him back now, he was going to end up in a place there was no coming back from. I told our parents about it. At first, they didn't believe me. They scolded me, saying I didn't know what I was talking about and that I was making up stories about my brother. But the moment I laid the evidence out in front of them, they flew into a rage. They dragged my brother home and beat him up, after finding out what he had been doing and how much debt he had accumulated. They beat him even worse. My brother was so badly beaten that he couldn't get out of bed, and I had to bring him food and water by his bedside. My brother learned his lesson. Once he recovered, he started reviewing his studies, always under the watchful eyes of our parents. A year later, he took the exam again, although he didn't get into the best school. At least he passed. I rushed over from work to congratulate him, only to find him pushing me into the frying pan. I screamed, I wailed. I reached out toward him, begging him to pull me up. Zhou Jiahao stood still, his face full of arrogance and disdain, showing no trace of sibling affection in his eyes. So he hated me this much, hated me for exposing him. Heaven has given me a second chance. And this time I choose to feign deafness and muteness. My brother can live or die. It no longer concerns me, too. After waiting for what felt like forever, he finally got himself together. How long will you be staying? He led me downstairs. In my past life, I had an early morning train the next day, so I planned to crash at his rental place for the night, but he blocked the doorway and wouldn't let me in. No matter what I said, I thought it was strange, so I pushed the door open anyway. The whole room was pitch black, with only the computer screen glowing. On it, a heavily filtered female streamer was putting on a show. The floor was littered with takeout boxes and trash everywhere. There wasn't even a clear spot to stand. I ended up having a big argument with my brother about it. He said since he lived alone, this was just how he liked to unwind on the weekends. Yeah, right. Like I'd believe that. That smell in the house couldn't have been festering for just a few days. I remember the stubborn and fierce look in my brother's eyes back then. He must have started hating me from that very moment. A chill ran down my spine as I met my brother's scrutinizing gaze. I'm leaving tonight. Just kidding. I'd run even if I had to carry a train on my back. My brother breathed a sigh of relief. I'll take you to eat first, and then send you off. He really didn't want me to stay for even a second longer. I quickly nodded in agreement. When the bill came after dinner, it was over 100 yuan. A flicker of pain crossed my brother's face. I knew exactly what kind of life he was living off the few thousand yuan our family sent him each month. He had to cover rent, fund his gaming, and send tips to his favorite streamers. The online loans kept piling up, and the hole was getting too deep to fill. On the way to the train station, how are Mom and Dad? He asked, struggling to find something to talk about. Same as always. Mom's been having a lot of back pain lately. I said, of course she's in pain. My brother's enrollment has him constantly asking for money from home. Tuition fees, credit fees, rent, club activity fees, class fees, and now he's talking about getting a new computer and a new phone. The expenses have doubled compared to when he was in college. The fried skewer stall at home supports both of us, and it's already stretched thin. To meet my brother's needs, my mom starts preparing breakfast as soon as the stall closes at 3 or 4 in the morning, working over 10 hours a day without rest. It's no wonder she's worn out. My brother clearly understands this, so he doesn't respond. At the station, my brother patted my shoulder with a hint of pride. Go back and ace the college entrance exam. Learn from your big brother. I nodded obediently, waited for him to turn around, and then rolled my eyes at his retreating back. If I take him as my role model, won't that ruin my entire life? At 3 in the morning, I got out of the car. Everyone getting off the train had someone waiting for them. I sighed at the empty platform and trudged home, my steps heavy and uneven. It was the dead of night by the time I lugged my bags home. The family's fried skewer stall had just closed, and my parents were counting the day's earnings under the lamplight. My mom turned and saw me. The first thing out of her mouth was, "You're back. Did you see your brother?" I didn't even get a chance to drink a sip of water. My mom grabbed me and grilled me about my brother's every move, what he ate, where he lived, how he was getting on. She wanted every detail, down to what time he woke up, when he ate, and how many times he went to the bathroom. I watched my mom's eager eyes and my dad behind her, pretending not to care but listening intently, as I lavishly praised Zhou Jiahao. My mom was indeed satisfied, glancing at my dad with a proud look on her face. Look at the son I gave birth to through sheer effort. So outstanding. My dad snorted. It's still thanks to the genes of our Zhou family. My mom became even more smug. Oh, what good is just having good genes? It's because I raised him well. My mother turned to me, her expression shifting instantly. What are you just standing there for? come and wash the pots. As if she had anticipated my reluctance, she raised her voice. Don't you use your final year of high school as an excuse. A girl your age can't even handle simple chores properly. A lazy woman will never find a husband. I sighed and went to do the dishes, but with every plate I washed, my heart grew heavier. In my past life, Zhou Jiahao owed 200,000. Our family had drained our savings and still couldn't cover it, so we had no choice but to borrow from relatives and friends. Even I, who had already been accepted into university, couldn't enroll. I was forced to work to help raise money for my brother. If I really ignored my brother and let his situation fester, who knows what outrageous sum that snowballing debt could reach in this lifetime. Given how much our parents favor him, they'd undoubtedly find a way to pay it off for him when the time comes. They might even sell me for parts if it came down to it. I glanced cautiously at my mom and said, Mom, you really don't have to give every last penny to my brother. If he's short on money at school, he can apply for student loans. If that doesn't work, he can always get a part-time job while studying. Please don't work yourself to the point of getting sick. If you stop giving money to my brother, you might actually be able to save some. If you keep funding him like this, it's just money down the drain. Before I could finish, my mom shot me a glare and cut me off. What do you know? Applying for that student loan is like admitting you're poor, right? Then your brother would be looked down upon by his classmates and teachers. His current task is to master his skills and make big money in the future. She gave me another wary look. Zhou Jiayu, I'm warning you, the money at home is for your brother's future marriage and house. It has nothing to do with you. So stop trying to get your hands on it all the time. Fine, I shouldn't have said anything. I never counted on their money. I just hope that when the Zhou family's ship goes down, it doesn't drag me under with it. How could you do this? I slammed the bowl down on the table. You're playing favorites, favoring sons over daughters. It was probably the first time I had ever talked back to her, and my mother was momentarily stunned. Once she recovered, she immediately slapped me across the face with a sharp crack. She pointed at my nose with her flour-covered fingers. Zhou Jiayu, don't act like those spoiled brats online who only know how to blame their parents. What gives you the right to compare yourself to your brother? You're a girl, and your father and I raised you, sent you to school. We don't owe you anything. How do you say you don't owe me? I'm your own flesh and blood too. Why does all the family money go to my brother? I pounded the stove and shouted at her. Your brother will take care of us in our old age. Can you do that? She rolled up her sleeves to hit me. Once you're married and get the bride price, you'll have nothing to do with this family. Can I even count on you? Huh? I dodged around, stretching my neck to shout at her. Then write me a document. I don't want your money, and in the future, don't come looking for me if you need anything. My mom was so furious with me that her chest was heaving violently. She was running around the house looking for paper and a pen, then slammed them down on the table. Write it down, and we'll sign it. We'll consider it as if we've raised you in vain. My mom looked at me with utter disdain. Starting today, we won't give you a single penny. For the next day, I moved back to the school. It was still early in the morning, and Zhou Jiahao's call had already come through. I didn't answer. He bombarded me with a ton of messages, dredging up all sorts of ancient history to curse me out. He called me an ungrateful wretch, saying he'd never in his life seen someone as shameless as me. I just rolled my eyes. He'll be so proud of himself when his lies finally catch up with him and our elderly parents have to go begging for loans to cover his debts. I replied to him slowly, Bro, we just got carried away and had a fight. How could I ever disown our parents? No matter what, I wouldn't dare confront a rabid dog like that head-on. Zhou Jiahao gave me a condescending lecture before slamming down the phone in anger. I fished out my little stash from under the mattress and counted it. There was over $500. In my previous life, Zhou Jiahao would ask our family for large sums of money. Whenever he asked, my parents would always find a way to scrape it together for him. When my parents couldn't make ends meet, they would find ways to cut back on my expenses. They'd say, "Oh, you're just a girl, how much could you possibly need?" And then, with a clear conscience, they'd shortchange me on my living expenses. At the very least, they'd only give me 100 yuan a month. Every day, I could only afford to eat 2 steamed buns with the free soup from the cafeteria. I couldn't even order the cheapest vegetable dish. In the bitter winter, while my classmates could use the washing machine in the dorm hallway, I couldn't bear to part with the 2 yuan coin. Late into the night, I'd wash my clothes in the drafty laundry room. By the end of that winter, my hands were covered in chilblains. Without the money I had saved up, I definitely wouldn't have made it through my final year of high school, but with just that amount, it certainly wouldn't have lasted me long. I found a break between classes, went to the homeroom teacher to fill out a form, and told them I had arranged private tutoring sessions outside of school, so I wouldn't be attending evening study sessions. Many students in the class were doing the same, so the homeroom teacher didn't suspect anything. That evening, I left school with my backpack, heading to the tutoring institution where I had worked in my previous life. In my past life, I had clearly been admitted to a C9 university, but my parents tore up the admission notice in front of me, forcing me to work in a factory to repay Zhou Jiahao's debt. I resisted desperately, but my father beat me so badly that I couldn't get out of bed for 3 days. Once I had recovered from my injuries, I went out and found a job at a tutoring institution, specializing in helping high school seniors identify and address their weaknesses. I was willing to work hard and loved to delve deep into my work. I earned high commissions, and my salary was much better than what I could have made at the factory. That's why my parents finally stopped pressuring me. Even on the morning I was pushed into the fryer by Zhou Jiahao, I was still at the tutoring center, teaching classes to earn money for him. I found the boss's office with practiced ease, just like in my past life, to apply for a job as a tutor at the center. When the boss heard I was still in my final year of high school, he shook his head vigorously like a rattle drum. I worked through a few problems right in front of him. He hesitated. You explain it well. But doesn't this take up your time? It's hardly any trouble for me. In my previous life, I taught senior year. I've gone over our year's college entrance exam papers countless times with my juniors, and I've done them myself just as many times. I practically have every question type memorized, barring any mishaps with the Chinese essay. I'll be the undisputed top scorer in the national college entrance exam. Moreover, I can guarantee my results will at least place me in the top 10 provincially. Once the scores are released, I'll be a living advertisement for your institution. The boss took my entire high school transcript and scrutinized it carefully. Your grades are excellent, but are they really top 10 material? The boss said hesitantly. It will definitely happen, I said with firm eyes. I worked with him for a few months in my previous life, so I understand his personality. As expected, the boss pondered for a moment and slowly exhaled. What do you want? An investment, I said. After careful consideration, of course. If I fail to deliver on my promise, you can have your money back. 5. With Mr. Buys 50,000 in hand. Even if my family stopped giving me money before the college entrance exams, I wouldn't have to worry about food and shelter. I still spend it very frugally. Right now, nothing makes me feel more secure than money. My parents didn't come looking for me again, and my days at school were incredibly peaceful, but that peace didn't last long. Late one night, Zhou Jiahao's calls started coming in one after another like a death knell, the phone buzzing so much my brain was about to short-circuit. The moment I answered, he tore into me. Are you dead? Why didn't you pick up for so long? I wiped my face and feigned a weary voice. I just got out of night study. What's up, bro? Zhou Jiahao never chatted with me or cared about his little sister's life. Him asking out of the blue like this. He definitely wanted something. Sure enough, Zhou Jiahao got straight to the point before long. Got any spare cash lately? Lend me some. I let out a cold laugh. I guess I've been asking for money too often. If I ask mom and dad again, they'll probably get suspicious, won't they? What's wrong, bro? Didn't mom just send you money? My tone was the picture of genuine concern. Just tell me if you have it or not. Seems like he didn't want to waste a single word on me. I looked at the balance in my account. Just over 100 left. Zhou Jiahao clicked his tongue. Send it over. Even 100 yuan wasn't spared, showing just how desperate he was for money. Can't do, bro. If I send it to you, I won't have anything to eat for the next 10 days of the month, I said slowly. Zhou Jiahao was rarely met with my refusal, and his tone immediately turned impatient. With all your classmates around, can't you just mooch off one of them? He said. If that doesn't work, just go home to eat. Seriously, it's an hour-long bus ride from school to home, and he's telling me to go back for a meal. Can't do it, bro. I'm swamped with studying. Can't make it back, I said flatly. Lights out soon. Gotta go. An incredulous gasp came from the other end of the line. Zhou Jiayu, say that again. No, brother, I repeated kindly. Ask mom and dad. Before he could yell, I hung up the phone. 6 on the weekend. I went home to get some clean clothes. The moment I walked in, I saw my parents sitting across from each other with gloomy expressions. I asked a couple of questions, but they shooed me away, saying, "Don't ask so many questions, you're just a kid." A little while later, they squeezed into my room. "Your brother has an urgent matter and needs money, you should take out a loan for him," my mother ordered me. "So it's come to this," I sighed inwardly, faced with my parents' tense bodies, "and that, you dare to refuse." "Look," I agreed without hesitation. My parents immediately relaxed and visibly brightened up. When I asked for the reason, they spoke freely. They said that my brother had a girlfriend in college. Now, she has accidentally become pregnant and wants to terminate the pregnancy, undergo surgery, and recover, so they need 10,000 yuan. My brother's money is all tied up in a project, so they're asking my parents for a loan. My parents' spare cash has been borrowed clean out by Zhou Jiahao, and they really can't come up with any more. Zhou Jiahao's clever little brain turned, and he asked me to help him get a loan online. I almost burst out laughing. My brother is really good at making things up. 10,000 just for an abortion, what a rip-off. My mom grumbled indignantly. Couldn't she just buy some pills and take care of it herself? Following my brother's instructions on my phone, I chuckled to myself, "Mom, that girl is still so young. She needs to take proper care of herself after something like that." Take care of herself. My foot. I was back to work 3 days after having you. The younger you are, the less you need to recuperate. After muttering and complaining for a while, my mom's thoughts took a turn, and she suddenly brightened up. "But your brother managed to find a college student girlfriend from the city, quite capable. She's had an abortion once, so if they marry, your brother can save on the betrothal gift. If not, he doesn't lose out either." I agreed verbally and clicked the confirm button. The message box popped up quickly. I got rejected. I handed the phone back with a sigh. "It's no use, Mom, I'm underage. The application won't go through." Zhou Jiahao was probably so used to borrowing money himself that he forgot about that detail. The elderly couple immediately grew anxious. "That won't do, your brother is in the hospital waiting for the money." They pulled me again. "Do you have any classmates who are adults? Ask them to help borrow some money, we'll pay them back next month." I pretended to think it over seriously and then shook my head. "They're all younger than me. If you can't even handle this, what's the point of raising you?" My mom glared at me, then picked up her phone and went to the next room to call my brother. After a while, she triumphantly waved her phone in front of me. "It's done, your brother taught me how to borrow it in my name." My mom scrolled through her phone, lost in thought. "This thing is really convenient," she mused. "Next time your brother needs money, I can just lend it to him through here." I froze, a chill running down my spine. 7. It was time to get out of there. I packed a huge pile of stuff, enough to last me until the college entrance exams. From then on, I moved into the school for good. The days passed one by one, and the college entrance exam drew closer. I hadn't been home for months. My mother seemed to have forgotten all about me, and I was quite content with the peace and quiet. On the eve of the second mock exam, my mother called me. Her voice on the phone was frantic and furious. "Your brother has been swindled by someone and is deep in debt." My heart sank, thinking Zhou Jiahao had finally cracked and was going to confess. My mom sobbed, one moment saying my brother was tricked by a classmate, the next saying his business venture failed. Who knows which story he fed them, but the point was, none of it was his fault. I casually asked for the amount. My mom's voice trembled with tears. "He owes 100,000. How on earth are we supposed to come up with that kind of money?" "Oh, come on." My brother finally confessed to being in debt, but only admitted to 100,000. He probably thinks the interest on the rest is manageable and he can scrape together enough to pay it off himself. "Yeah, right. As if he could. What can I do, Mom? I'm at school all day. I don't have any money," I said, crying along with her. "You've got so many classmates. There must be some who are well off, right? Ask them to lend you some money," she said. "I don't believe you can't borrow from anyone." "I'll try," I said half-heartedly before hanging up the phone. To my surprise, the next day after class, I walked out of the classroom and saw my mom standing outside. She rushed up and slapped me, shouting angrily, "Your brother reminded me, we haven't given you money in so long. How are you surviving at school, you little liar? Hand over the money you've been saving." in front of everyone. She didn't leave me any dignity. She stormed into my classroom, couldn't remember my exact seat, and emptied the desk compartments of the 2 rows in front of and behind me, throwing all the teaching materials onto the floor. Not finding the money, she came after me again, dragging and kicking me. I dodged and ran while crying out, chased all the way to the dormitory entrance. I tried to block her from entering, but she shoved me to the ground and barged in, rummaging through everything. She pulled a wad of cash from an old dictionary on my bookshelf, shooting me a furious glare. "You little brat, that's quite a stash." Clutching the money, she turned to kick me, still saying, "You don't have any. What's this? You've got some nerve." Lying to my face, I scrambled and dodged on the floor, making a pitiful sight of myself. She grabbed me by the collar and raised her hand to strike. "What are you doing?" came an angry shout. My roommate, who had received my text, arrived with several security guards in tow. I burst into tears and pointed at my mom. "It's her. This crazy woman came out of nowhere, barged into the dorm, tried to steal money, and hit me." My mom was completely stunned. 8. The security guard glanced at the dorm room my mom had turned upside down, then looked at my panicked roommates, and approached with his baton in hand. My mom immediately panicked. She widened her eyes and pointed at the security guard. "This is my daughter's dorm room. What's wrong with me?" As a mother, looking around, I clutched my roommate's sleeve, sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. "She's not my mom. I don't know her." My mom got furious and charged at me, ready to grab and hit me, but the security guard stepped in front of me. "She really is my daughter. Her name is Zhou Jiayu. She's a tiger," my mom shouted at the top of her lungs. I peeked out from behind the security guard and yelled, "So many people know my name, and they're all my mom." The homeroom teacher, Ms. Jiang, who had hurried over, frowned. "You say she's your daughter, but which class is she in?" My mom was left speechless. "Hilarious. She doesn't even know which class I'm in." "What's her homeroom teacher's name? Where did she rank in the last monthly exam? What does she like for breakfast? What size is her school uniform?" My mother stammered, unable to answer a single question. Teacher Jiang sneered, "Either you leave the money and walk away now, and we'll let it go, or we'll have no choice but to call the police." My mother threw the money down, shooting me a resentful glare. "Fine, don't you ever come home again." My mother stormed off, muttering curses under her breath. I watched her walk away, my face still feigning tears. But inwardly, I felt a wave of immense satisfaction. My roommates gathered around me, helping me to my feet and wiping away my tears. Teacher Jiang also moved to my side and gave my back a comforting pat. "Come to my office," Teacher Jiang said in a voice meant only for my ears. "Was that your mother?" My head snapped up. 9 Ms. Jiang had always been good to me, even in what felt like a past life. Back then, she could tell I was hard up. She wanted to help me out but was afraid of hurting my pride. So she'd find all sorts of flimsy excuses to slip me money on the sly. That's the only reason I didn't go hungry at school. Remember every penny she spent on me, but sadly, I never got the chance to repay her. When the college entrance exam scores came out, I had excellent results but couldn't afford to go to school. Teacher Jiang talked to me countless times, and even came to my house to speak with my parents, only to be chased away with a broom. Back then, I ran out after her, kowtowed to Teacher Jiang, and then took off, my tears carried away by the wind. Will always be grateful to her, even until my death. Looking into her calm eyes now, I almost really cried. In the office, I told her all about my family's troubles. She was so angry that she slammed the table and assured me, "From now on, if anything happens, tell Teacher Jiang. If you need money, Teacher Jiang can lend it to you first, and you can repay me once you start working. You should quit that tutoring job. If your mother could find you here, she could just as easily find you there. Besides, the second mock exams are coming up. You really need to focus on your studies." Teacher Jiang patted my head and spoke gently. I nodded. The next day, I quit my job at the tutoring center and buckled down to study at school. Teacher Jiang kept an eye on me for a few days and was finally reassured. Over the weekend, Ms. Jiang took me to stay at her house. Her son, Jiang Xiao, was also home studying for his postgraduate entrance exams. We shared a single desk lamp at the study table, creating a very intense and focused atmosphere for our work. In my past life, brother Jiang Xiao came to the school a few times to pick up Ms. Jiang Photos of him in his long trench coat, with those long legs, circulated for a while in the girls' group chat. Now, the guy I once idolized is sitting right across from me, diligently working through his practice books. All I feel inside is a profound sense of calm, well, having died once already, I guess you could say I'm just unflappable. I heard my parents scrape together 100,000 yuan from God knows where and gave it to my brother, telling him not to stress, to study hard, and to make a comeback. They thought this would finally light a fire under him. But just a month later, debt collection messages were blasted out to all our relatives, friends, and neighbors. The messages were incredibly rude, filled with every kind of foul language imaginable. Looks like my brother couldn't pay up, and his entire contact list got leaked. As his sister, I get over 20 debt collection calls a day, let alone my parents. My brother created a group chat and added everyone who received the messages, then posted a long explanation saying he was just too outstanding at school, which led to jealousy and this prank. He might have forgotten that our parents actually borrowed money from some of those people. Your parents came to borrow money from me a few days ago, so it's you're doing, huh? My uncle didn't believe it at all. Study hard for your graduate degree. Why are you in so much debt? What are you doing all day? My mom posted an award certificate of my brother's that she had no idea where he got it from into the group, explaining how outstanding her son is and that every debt he owes has a reason. This is useless. My uncle was impatient. Our Urjuan graduated long ago and even bought a car for the family. Jiahao has been studying for so long, and not only does he not make money, but he's also lost so much. My mom went crazy, sending several 50-second voice messages, blasting my uncle, saying my brother will have great success in the future, and the money he owes now will be just 2 months' salary later. My uncle scoffed, "You two old folks are being kept in the dark by your son. You don't even know what bad things he's doing outside. Do you even know what he used that money for and how much he really owes?" I watched my mom turn off the stove. My brother lurking silently in the group chat, so I activated anonymous mode, check his credit report, sent 10. It felt like a scene from a past life repeating itself, as our parents went to another province together and dragged my brother back. As my neighbor Hua Jia told me, the sounds of mixed-gender double beating and my brother's wailing lasted the entire night. The debt my brother owed was more than double what it was in that past life, and he still owes over 100,000 now. This additional 100,000 is so much that even if they sold the old couple as a package, they still couldn't pay it off. Naturally, they thought of me again. For the first time, both my parents came to my school together, presenting my household registration book and ID card, asking for leave for me. Seeing that something serious was happening, Teacher Jiang was sweating profusely. "No, the college entrance exam is right around the corner. Everything else has to take a back seat now." My mother grabbed my hand. "There's a major issue at home. Who cares about the college entrance exam? You're an outsider. Don't meddle." Teacher Jiang was furious. He stood up and tried to pull me away. My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly shot Teacher Jiang a meaningful look. Teacher Jiang hesitated, then sat back down. I obediently went home with my parents. As soon as I stepped into the house, my father spoke in an unyielding tone, saying he had found a match for me. The man's family had a child with autism and was willing to offer 180,000 yuan in betrothal gifts, which would solve our immediate financial crisis. He demanded I drop out of school and get married immediately. "The sooner you marry into their family, the sooner their money will come through, and your brother is in urgent need of it to save his life." I nodded. Their stern faces immediately lit up with smiles. They began massaging my shoulders and cooking for me, treating me better than they ever had before. "Zhou Jiahao, get over here and thank your sister this instant. If it weren't for her, you'd be begging on the streets." My father barked orders at him like he was training a dog. Zhou Jiahao's face turned a sickly shade of green. I bet he'd never felt so utterly humiliated in his entire life. My parents confiscated my phone and kept the door under tight watch. They practically wanted to chain me up. I just went along with it without a fuss. My parents slept soundly and peacefully. The next day, the police came knocking. On my way home, I texted Teacher Jiang that if I didn't return to school by evening, she should call the police immediately. But along with them came a crowd of people holding up phones and carrying cameras, lenses, and microphones, likely local media. This has Jiang Shao's fingerprints all over it. My mom was barricading the door to keep people out. while my dad was brandishing a cleaver and yelling threats at those outside. The reporters at the door, with all their cameras and equipment, captured every moment of my mom's dramatic tantrum on the ground. The video of Zhou Jiahao spitting out the window was clipped and went viral on the local trending charts. In my past life, even though he was brought back, my parents kept his lies and debts tightly under wraps as a family disgrace. Everyone in the surrounding villages believed that Zhou Jiahao had gotten into university, looked down on the place, and then angrily dropped out after a year to retake the exams. Anyone who heard it couldn't help but praise him for being so bold and capable. This time, everyone found out exactly what kind of people my dear parents and my so-called promising older brother really are. Unable to withstand the pressure, my parents opened the door and were taken down to the station for a good talking to. The agreement was that I would move in with teacher Zhang's family, and they weren't allowed to bother me before my college entrance exams. I heard that some enthusiastic netizens, who came from nowhere, defaced the entrance of my house. My mom gets scolded by people whenever she goes grocery shopping, and our once modest fried skewer business has now plummeted. That small stall used to help support the family, but now we're struggling to make ends meet. While they were at a loss and borrowing money from everywhere, I went to the exam. The moment I saw the questions, I knew I had it in the bag. As expected, when the results came out, I became the top scorer in the province. A flood of rewards came pouring in, with just the county's reward amounting to 300,000. Teacher Jiang also earned quite a bit of bonus because of me, and the tutoring institution where I taught saw its slots filled overnight. My parents seemed to have everything ready in advance. As soon as the results were announced, they contacted the media, started a live stream, and wailed in front of the camera, "It's only right that children repay their parents' debts. After all, she was born and raised by them. Yet now she doesn't care about the family's survival. She clearly has money, but she won't give a single cent to her family. What an ungrateful daughter. Raising such a heartless wretch is a misfortune for the family. My parents are barely literate, so this little scheme clearly wasn't their idea. That leaves only my dear brother." In no time, a bunch of clueless onlookers jumped in to accuse me of being heartless and cold. I started a live stream too. I laid out every single expense my parents had spent on me, item by item, from the day I was born. The final figure left the live stream in stunned silence for several seconds. No matter how you look at it, that number doesn't seem like enough to raise a child to 18. In fact, some wealthy families spend more than that on a cat or a dog over just 4 or 5 years. I then produced the agreement I had tricked my mother into signing during our argument, along with the scattered phone and conversation recordings I'd collected over the past few months. "Hey, I heard young women can sell their eggs these days, and they fetch a high price. Why don't you sell a few? You can always make more. Your brother really needs the money. You know, it's your brother's birthday. Send him some money to make him happy. Look around and see if there are any wealthy male classmates. Go befriend one and see if he'll spend some money on you. Then you can pass it on to your brother. You're unwilling to do this, unwilling to do that. I've raised you all these years, and you haven't contributed a single thing to this family." At first, there were people who sided with my parents and attacked me, but most of them have backed off now. Even if a few remain, they're drowned out by the overwhelming public scorn. How can such parents exist in this world? Their favoritism is utterly shameless. Is this brother just a total loser? He can't even get his own life together, yet he's willing to sacrifice his sister's entire future. Thank goodness my sister has a backbone, or this family would have been the death of her. With a crazy father, a crazy mother, and a crazy brother. Sister, you need to run. Cut all ties. My parents came in here all guns blazing, but now they've slunk away with their tails between their legs. I heard my parents went around the neighbors and relatives trying to borrow money again. Now that everyone knows what Zhou Jiahao has been up to, they all made excuses and didn't lend them a single cent. The unfortunate relatives and friends who had lent them money came knocking, full of bitter complaints, demanding repayment. My parents and my brother spent their days hiding and dodging them. My dad tried to get my brother a job, doing odd jobs on a construction site to earn whatever he could. My brother went for 2 days, then slipped back home and refused to ever go again. Pushed to the brink, Zhou Jiahao locked himself in his room and started cursing. He called his parents useless, saying they'd never given him any support growing up and only ever held him back. According to Sister Hua, who lives next door to me, The sounds of a parental tag team beating and my brother's wails had started up again. 12. The summer vacation is almost over, and T University's admission notices have been sent out one after another, but I haven't received mine yet. Jiang Shao accompanies me to wait outside the post station every day. Sometimes I run into my brother, who looks grim and wants to come up to me, but seeing Jiang Shao by my side, he backs off. Just one day, Jiang Shao and I didn't go to the post station to wait, and in the evening, we received a video call from Zhou Jiahao. He held the envelope containing my admission letter triumphantly, waving it in front of the camera. Want the admission letter? Pay up. How much? I asked casually. How much do you have? He asked. About 300,000. I counted on my fingers. It's all in the card. His eyes lit up instantly. Zhou Jiahao and I agreed on a simultaneous exchange of cash for goods, at noon the next day, at the time and place we'd agreed on. He waited for me for 2 hours, but I never showed up. He paced in circles, stomping his feet in a fit of helpless rage, pulled out his phone to call me, and immediately started yelling. One moment he threatened to tear up my admission letter, the next he said he was going to sell it. Go ahead and tear it up, I said. If you put that kind of crooked thinking into figuring out how to make money, you might actually pay it back sooner. Zhou Jiahao snorted coldly, ripped opened the folder roughly, and pulled out the admission letter. At that moment, I thought he was going to explode with rage. Inside were 2 1-yuan bills. Go buy an egg to eat and nourish your brain. I clicked send. Zhou Jiahao was so furious his hands were trembling. He spun in place twice, crumpled the 2 bills into a tight ball, hurled them to the ground, tore the document folder to shreds, stuffed his hands in his pockets, and stormed off. A few seconds later, he turned back, bent down to pick up the 2 banknotes, and stuffed them into his pocket. Jiang Shao and I had a perfect view from the second floor of the bar across the street, and we burst out laughing. 13. With just a week left before I started school, Jiang Shao was helping me shop for supplies at the supermarket when I suddenly got a call from Sister Hua next door. Hua's voice was strained with tension. Little fish, come back quickly. Your mom and brother had a fight, and your brother pushed her and left. Your mom hit her head, and there's blood everywhere. I exchanged a glance with Jiang Shao, who patted my shoulder and said, I'll go with you. I nodded gratefully. When I got home, my mother was already propped up into a sitting position. She was clutching a towel, pressing it against the wound on her forehead. Her hands were covered in blood, and the towel was already soaked through. Where's Dad? I glanced around the room and understood. Off to the construction site, my mom said softly, looking quite normal. With this heat wave, I can earn a bit more. Let's go to the hospital. I took her hand and started walking. My mom didn't move. I can't go, Xiao Yu. If I go to the hospital, and word gets out about your brother pushing me, he won't be able to live with himself anymore. What will people think of him? The absurdity made me laugh out loud. He's already crossed the line by laying hands on you. Why are you still worried about his ruined reputation? Let's go. I tried to pull her again, but she pushed me away with one hand. No way. She looked at me, thought of something, and her eyes suddenly lit up. If you pay off your brother's debt, Mom will go to the hospital. The hope I had been clinging to all along finally died. I thought I was invincible after being reborn, but that single sentence pierced right through me. If you refuse, then just watch me die. My mother seemed almost gratified, her expression twisted and monstrous, her face smeared with blood like a vengeful ghost. After I'm gone, do you think you'll ever sleep soundly again? Zhou Jiayu, a ringing filled my ears. In that instant, I froze on the spot, my entire body going numb. Jiang Shao grabbed my hand. Jiang Shao spoke up. Auntie, the money for the hospital is right here. It's up to you whether you go or not. You're an adult. Xiao Yu can't make this decision for you. He placed a few red banknotes on the table, took my hand, and led me away. When we reached the doorway, I turned back. Mom, for your information, yesterday was my birthday. I'm an adult now. From now on, I have nothing more to do with this family. An ambulance had arrived at the door at some point without us noticing. Jiang Shao and I watched from a distance, hesitating for a long time, but in the end, my mother still got into the vehicle. It was your birthday yesterday. Why didn't you tell me? Jiang Shao said with a hint of reproach. I didn't even prepare a gift for you. I already have a gift. I took a deep breath, feeling an unprecedented sense of ease. It's like I've been Reborn, 14, Zhou Jiahao vanished after that day. I figure he's gone off somewhere to dodge his debts, his reputation is shot around here anyway. He might have better luck finding work and making money in another town. As for my parents, the debt they took on in their own names isn't huge. Given their earning power, they'll manage to pay it off bit by bit. I heard your parents have already sold the shop and the house in the city. Jiang Shao said, they're probably moving back to the countryside. I know, Sister Hua from next door already told me, there wasn't much in my room to begin with. They sold some things, threw the rest away. Sister Hua managed to salvage a few books for me. I don't have much of a connection to that place anymore, I said slowly. On the day I left for Beijing, Ms. Jiang came to see me off. But Jiang Shao didn't show up. He was already in the second round of review for his postgraduate entrance exams and couldn't afford any delays. Ms. Jiang brought me a bouquet of flowers. I hugged Ms. Jiang, and she wiped away tears as she saw me onto the bus. I kept smiling at her the whole way, but as I watched her figure on the platform grow smaller, tears slid down my cheeks. A chilling voice suddenly came from behind. You're crying so hard for a stranger, yet you won't shed a single tear for your dying brother. I tried to turn around, but was pinned forcefully against the corridor wall. Something sharp and icy pressed against the small of my back. A cold sweat instantly soaked through my shirt. The money's on the card, and the card's in my pocket. I forced myself to stay calm. You think money fixes this? Zhou Jiahao sneered. How am I supposed to show my face now? Sweet sister, you blame me for what you did yourself, I said calmly. He let out a cold laugh and reached for my bag. Brother, do you remember the time when you took me swimming at the reservoir when we were kids? My face was pressed against the cold car wall, the hand rummaging through the bag grew impatient. What are you trying to say? You said you'd teach me to swim, threw me into the middle of the lake, and laughed as I struggled. I almost drowned before I learned. I reminisce, if I had really been about to drown back then, would you have fished me out? The person behind me fell silent for a moment. Fishing you out? Zhou Jiahao's voice was vicious. I only regret not knocking you out before throwing you in. Then I have nothing to regret. I closed my eyes, before the stabbing pain in my waist became more specific. Zhou Jiahao's grip suddenly loosened. I was thrown to the ground, gasping for breath. Someone quickly helped me up and pulled me into a familiar embrace. Jiang Shao breathed a sigh of relief. It was so dangerous, but luckily you managed to get a ticket and board. Jiang Shao gently patted my back. I'll take you there and come back after you're settled. My brother had already been pinned to the ground by the surrounding passers-by, and the security guards were hurrying over from a distance. His bloodshot eyes were fixed on me. Zhou Jiahao missed another chance to kill me, and it might not happen again. 15. At T University, I studied computer science, always the earliest to rise and the latest to sleep, and my roommates always called me the ultimate overachiever. I know my college entrance exam scores were inflated, and based on real ability. I can't match my classmates, so I have to make up for it with hard work. No matter how hard it is, it pales in comparison to the fear of dying once. With my own abilities and the prestige of my school, I already received a high-paying job offer before graduation. On returning from an internship, I thought Jiang Shao must be waiting at home with a meal prepared, and my steps lightened. Suddenly, I stopped in my tracks. It was my mother. She was sitting on the curb, hands resting awkwardly on her knees, hunched over. She wore an old, grease-stained coat from years ago and looked up at me timidly. In just a few short years, she had aged so much. Your father has lung cancer. We're stretching every penny we have, and it's still not enough. Your brother ran off without a word. We're truly at our wits' end. After all I've done raising you, you can't be this selfish. It seemed my mom had initially intended to take a softer approach, but her true feelings slipped out, and her voice grew shrill along with them. That year you snuck off to swim in the reservoir and came down with a high fever. Your father and I rushed you to the hospital in the middle of the night, carrying you for over half a mile. Have you forgotten? Passers-by began to look over. Seeing she had an audience, my mom raised her voice even louder. Don't you have any feelings for us at all? How did I raise such an ungrateful wretch? That's enough, Mom. My heart remained utterly unmoved. We can talk about anything else, but let's not talk about feelings. Back then, the policy wasn't relaxed yet. Zhou Jiahao was already a son, so there was no need for another child. Unfortunately, I was that ill-fated accident. If my mother hadn't ruined her health giving birth to Zhou Jiahao, making an abortion life-threatening for her, I would never have been born into this world. My brother is Zhou Jiahao, the golden child of the Zhou family, the apple of their eye. I am Zhou Jiayu, the spare part, the one who doesn't quite belong. I crouched down to meet her eye level and looked at her intently. Mom, how much do you remember from when we were kids? Ever since I was little, you'd tell him I was his younger sister and that he should give in to me, that I should get everything first. When Jiahao thought it was unfair and snatched my things, I'd cry my heart out, and you'd just stand there laughing, saying it served me right. Do you remember any of that? My mom seemed to be touched by some old wound and shrank back. So what? Your brother is a boy, and boys are supposed to be competitive and learn to compete. What about that time in 6th grade? He pushed me, and I broke my wrist, but you took him to KFC and left me alone in the hospital eating steamed buns. My mom avoided my gaze. Your brother has already realized his mistake. Besides, women are born to suffer. If I hadn't trained you to endure hardship early on, how could you have the life you have today? You're right, women are born to suffer. I stood up. Your suffering now is well-deserved. Suffer well. I turned and walked away, but my mother grabbed me. I looked back. There was no trace of pleading in her eyes anymore, only venom. We're both women, so why do you have such a blessed life while mine is so miserable? I shouldn't have looked back. My mother clutched my sleeve with a death grip, her shrill voice ringing in my ears. Don't think your life is easy now. I'm telling you, you'll get what's coming to you. As if struck by a sudden thought, she let out a piercing laugh. I'll sue you. I'll take you to court and make you pay me back every penny. What's the use of you earning all that money? In the end, it will all belong to my son. She was like a woman possessed. I looked at her and said calmly, go ahead and sue me. I trust the law. Whatever the judgment says I owe you, that's exactly what you'll get. I won't give you a penny more than what's due. I pried her hand off and left. 16. My mother indeed went back and started making arrangements to sue me. I dragged out the process. And when the verdict finally came down, it was only a few $100s a month. At first, my mother went to great lengths to cause me trouble, but after a few incidents that Jiang Xiao and I resolved, she calmed down. I just can't seem to settle, always feeling like there's a pair of eyes watching me from the shadows. I dreamed I was tumbling in a vat of boiling oil, fried until I was golden and crispy. Then Zhou Jiahao gobbled me up in one bite, crumbs falling from his mouth as he chewed. I woke up in the middle of the night drenched in sweat, gasping for air. Jiang Xiao pulled me into his arms and patted my back. On the day of my daughter's 1-month celebration, I was cutting fruit while watching the news. Suddenly, I froze, my body stiffening. A man from a certain province died after falling while stealing, and his identity is hard to verify. In the comments section, I saw unblurred photos. I stood there holding the knife, stunned for a long time. Jiang Wenxiao took my hand and sighed. We can finally get a good night's sleep. I smiled and nodded. My daughter woke up and started fussing with little coos. Jiang Xiao took the fruit, and I went to pick her up. Her tiny, soft hand clutched my collar. Her big, dark, round eyes looked at me, filled with nothing but trust and affection. I pulled her into my arms, would give her the best of everything, making her an enviable little princess, never letting her suffer a moment of hardship. Jiang Xiao hugged us from behind. I smiled with relief. That little fish from the Zhou family, battered and bruised in the frying pan, still managed to swim out and carve its own path in the world. Story 2. I am the little princess of the Phoenix clan, yet I fell in love with a mongrel fox. He wasn't worthy to be the Phoenix clan's spirit pet, but I defied all opposition to form a contract with him, to even help him ascend to the throne as Fox King. I split my heart in half for him and used my inner core to refine his bloodline. Yet during our intimate moments, he ruthlessly shattered my soul, saying, only with your death can I be with Tamsin. Only then did I realize he had long fallen in love with my more noble sister, who had been infeft as an imperial princess. When I woke again, I saw the fox prostrating at my sister's feet, begging her to take him as a beast pet. In this world, the only one who could help a mongrel fox like him rise up is me, the god of war who fought my way out of mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Isla, are you really going to keep this fox? My ice-cold body suddenly regained warmth. As I opened my eyes, a desolate wilderness stretched before me. Following my father's stern gaze, I saw a wounded fox with patchy fur lying on the ground. I froze momentarily, then was overcome with wild joy. I had actually returned to the very day I found that scruffy fox. I laughed. Father asked me again if I really wanted to keep a low-bred mongrel fox. A thought crossed my mind as I lazily replied, I do. Father sighed helplessly. Fine, keep it if you wish. Hearing our conversation, the dying mongrel fox flashed a look of disgust in its eyes. He transformed into a handsome man with rosy lips, pearly teeth, and jet black hair cascading over his shoulders. Struggling, he crawled on his knees to his sister's feet, gazing at her with deep affection. Laszlo only wishes to follow the mightiest being under heaven. Princess Tamsin is gifted by nature and diligent in cultivation. She will surely rise like a phoenix one day. Laszlo is willing to follow Princess Tamsin. I begged the imperial princess to take me in. The elder sister's eyes widened with evident delight. The others were stunned by Laszlo's actions. I am the most noble princess of the Phoenix clan, born a phoenix, but elder sister's true form is merely a golden pheasant spirit. Laszlo actually dared to flatter a golden pheasant spirit right before the phoenix. I curled the corner of my lips playfully. As expected, Laszlo has also been reborn. In her past life, elder sister indeed transformed from a golden pheasant spirit into a phoenix through nirvana. It was precisely because he knew this that he begged elder sister to take him in. Father flew into a rage. How dare you? A lowly fox of impure blood dares to set his sights on my daughter. I understand why father was angry. He had long found a pure-blooded azure dragon as a spirit pet for elder sister. Father's eyes were filled with killing intent as he swung his sword, but it was blocked by elder sister. The elder sister spread her arms, shielding Laszlo behind her. Father, Laszlo has awakened spiritual intelligence and taken human form. Killing him would create karmic sin. As she spoke, she stroked Laszlo's head, casting a challenging and triumphant look at me. Father, let me keep him. The father flatly refused. This is what Isla chose. Isla, form a contract with this fox. The sister pouted and stomped her foot in frustration. Dad, how could you be so biased towards my sister? Biased towards me. Spiritual pets are extremely important to their masters. A good spiritual pet can transfer its cultivation to its master after forming a contract, aiding the master's training. Father clearly despised Laszlo's lowly lineage, yet made me form a contract with him. A dull ache throbbed in my heart. Laszlo panicked. He grabbed his sister's sleeve, insisting on following her. He said affectionately, Tamsin, as long as you make a contract with me and heal my wounds, I'll give you 300 years of cultivation. I don't want to lose you. 300 years of cultivation could significantly advance sister's power. In my past life, I never thought of taking Laszlo's cultivation. He was shot in the heart, and to keep him alive, I even gave him half of my own heart. Sadly, my sacrifice didn't earn me even a shred of his gratitude. The whole clan knows I treasure that mangy fox I picked up from the wasteland, but that fox is so proud, it won't even give me a smile. Look at him now. Laszlo kneeling before his sister, pleading with such deep affection, bearing no resemblance to his former self. Laszlo's so-called arrogance was nothing but his disdain for me. I laughed at myself mockingly. My sister laughed too. Laszlo rejected me and chose her, which made her very smug. Besides, she also wanted those 300 years of cultivation. Sister wants to form a contract with Laszlo. Father angrily said, it's just 300 years of cultivation. Other spirit pets can give you that too. The elder sister's eyes immediately reddened. Why can she keep it, but I can't? The elder sister began sobbing with tears falling. The father suppressed his anger and gently coaxed the elder sister. I watched quietly, my heart already numb with pain. My father had never shown such tenderness in front of me before. When I acted spoiled or troubled with him, he would only scold me harshly and punish me by making me face the wall. How can a loving father resist his children? In the end, father conceded defeat. Fine, keep it if you want. My sister joyfully formed a contract with Laszlo. Then, she turned to me with pleading eyes. Little sister, Laszlo's heart is severely injured. Could you heal him? You know, my true form is just a golden pheasant, not like you who was born a phoenix. I wish I could give my heart to Laszlo, but how could a golden pheasant's heart compare to a phoenix's? Too, Laszlo movedly nuzzled against his sister's palm, casting hopeful glances at me in secret. Doesn't want to be with me, yet still desires half of my heart. Laszlo really dares to dream big. Father also advised me, Isla, you're so capable, losing half a heart won't matter. Father said these words lightly. I Wasn't the least bit surprised. No, my father never loved me, he nurtured me and provided resources only because my mother was the only one in this world who achieved ascension. With my mother as my backing, he dared not deprive me of resources. He took a different approach, throwing me, just come of age, into the perilous battlefield of the demon war. My prowess was earned through bloody battles amidst mountains of corpses. I crossed my arms and said leisurely, didn't that mangy fox just say my sister has great talent, practices diligently, and is destined to be reborn as a phoenix? With all your power, sister, you can't even raise a spirit pet properly. Father, my sister isn't wrong, you truly are biased. You raised me to be so capable, yet made my sister so incompetent. What a waste of my sister's natural talents. A flash of resentment toward their father crossed the sister's eyes as she shamefully covered her face. The father's expression darkened. Isla, as your father, I command you to give half of your heart to heal Laszlo. I shook my head calmly. Whoever raised the spirit pet should be the one to heal it. In this lifetime, no one will ever get me to give up half of my heart again. Since Laszlo chose my sister, his life or death is no longer my concern. My refusal caused the pent-up anger in my father's eyes to erupt completely. Ungrateful daughter. Father struck out with a palm strike. I leaped backward, a streak of blood appearing on my face from the violent palm strike. Father frowned. He didn't expect that using half his strength would still allow me to dodge. Sister's eyes filled with jealousy as she let out a regretful sigh. The golden pheasant is indeed inferior to the phoenix. Father's expression suddenly darkened. Father was once a golden pheasant spirit too. With mother's help, he refined his bloodline, underwent nirvana to become a phoenix, and became the king of the Phoenix clan. When I first contracted Laszlo, I tempered his bloodline and made him the Fox King. Following my mother's example, who would have thought that as soon as Laszlo ascended to the throne, he immediately turned his blade against me. During our intimate moments, he took advantage of my guard being down and shattered my soul. Laszlo hated me for blocking his path to love and be with Tamsin. This time, I didn't stand in his way, yet he still hated me. He hated me for not healing his wounds. Isla, you really are a heartless and cruel woman. Thank goodness I chose Tamsin. The older sister moved, hugged Laszlo tightly. Father, please find a way to save Laszlo. Without Isla, can we really not save anyone? Father gave me a deep look and ordered someone to bring the 9 revolutions golden elixir. This is the divine medicine left by mother. The Phoenix clan possesses only one of these. For elder sister's sake, Father gave it to Laszlo. The 9 revolutions golden elixir worked remarkably, and Laszlo recovered from his injuries swiftly. True to his promise, he transferred 3 centuries of cultivation to his elder sister. The elder sister suddenly felt a surge of pride and vindication. At this moment, the Fox King who had been waiting nearby stepped forward. Phoenix King, may we now proceed with refining the bloodline for the Fox clan? Laszlo immediately gazed at his sister with fanatical fervor in his eyes. His excitement stemmed from the fact that the Tamsin clan had come at the Fox tribe's invitation today. The Fox King's lifespan was nearing its end, and he had no heirs. He requested the Phoenix tribe to refine the bloodlines of the Fox tribe's members, so as to select the next Fox King. Father nodded. Of course you may. Naturally, Father had sister make the first move. He wouldn't permit sister's spirit beast to be just an ordinary mongrel fox. Sister gave me a challenging glance and summoned her immortal brush. Draw a purifying bloodline rune in midair. Then, the rune bursts apart, scattering like starlight that slowly drifts down. So beautiful. She smiled with confident composure. Suddenly, the divine brush shattered, and spiritual energy ran wild. Laszlo was sent flying backward by the impact, spitting out a mouthful of blood. Having given his sister 300 years of cultivation, Laszlo had little left of his own. Unable to withstand the power of the shattered divine brush, his body reverted to its original form, with only his head remaining in human shape. However, his jet-black hair turned dull yellow and coarse, while his fair skin became spotted. Laszlo coughed up blood in agony, begging his sister to return the 300 years of cultivation to him first. His fox paws reached out to embrace his sister, only to be kicked away. His sister scolded in disgust. Get away, useless ugly creature. Laszlo stared at his sister in disbelief. He tried to forcibly reclaim his cultivation, but his sister mercilessly slipped a beast-taming collar around his neck. Laszlo curled up in pain, looking at me pleadingly. I didn't even acknowledge him. Oh, weren't you rushing to be this sister's pet, just putting on a collar? Bear with it. The Fox King coldly demanded. Phoenix King, Tamsin doesn't know how to refine bloodlines at all, by sending her out. Are you mocking my Fox clan? The atmosphere grew tense in an instant, cold sweat covered the father's forehead. The bloodline tempering technique can only be learned by women. He thought his elder sister had already mastered it. I straightened my sleeves and said, "Let me handle this," with a light wave of my hand. The golden light from my palm merged into the body of a newly awakened, yet unshaped yellow-furred fox. Instantly, a mist of blood erupted from the little fox's body. My sister jumped up and shouted, "Little sister, you're pretending to know what you don't. Did you just harm someone?" The father roared in anger, "You wicked girl, how dare you harm others without reason?" The pent-up fury finally found its outlet. With all his might, he condensed his spiritual power into a giant sword and swung it fiercely. 3. A brilliant light suddenly radiated from my body as a long spear materialized before me. The blood-stained, mottled spear tip brims with boundless killing intent, shattered father's spiritual energy greatsword. Father was sent staggering backward, clutching his chest while staring at the spear in horror. Sister and Laszlo also wore expressions of utter astonishment. The Fox King exclaimed in shock, "It's the god of war spear. Princess Isla of the Phoenix clan is actually the god of war." He knelt on one knee and saluted me. The others quickly followed his lead and knelt down. Laszlo looked astonished. He never expected me to be the god of war who made demons tremble on the battlefield. "Isla, you never told me about this," he complained to me with a grievance. I responded with a cold sneer, "My body is covered in scars. It's not like he hasn't seen them." Had he shown the slightest concern, I would have told him. Father muttered in disbelief, How could you be the god of war?" I curled my lips in a mocking tone, "Thanks to you. It was you who personally sent me to the battlefield." My sister knelt on the ground, her face filled with resentment. She shot a resentful glance at our father. She truly believed that father was nurturing me with all his heart. My elder sister pointed at the fox shrouded in bloody mist, earnestly advising me, "Isla, even as the god of war, you cannot harm people at will." I didn't even glance at her, signaling everyone to rise. I said to the Fox King, "The bloodline refinement is complete." As if to confirm my words, the blood mist surrounding the fox suddenly faded. The fox's yellow fur rapidly turned red at a visible pace, becoming a red fox. The red fox is the royal bloodline of the Fox clan. I frowned and retorted to my sister, "Can't you tell whether his bloodline refinement succeeded? Have you been diligently studying the bloodline refinement technique?" My sister opened her mouth but stammered, unable to speak. A red light flashed as the crimson fox transformed, dressed in red robes, with a tall and slender figure, fair skin, and alluring lips. Her fox-like eyes were utterly captivating. The red fox knelt in greeting. "Orson the fox pays respects to war goddess Isla." I gave a slight nod. Seeing this, the Fox King was overjoyed and immediately moved to appoint Orson as his heir. Unexpectedly, Orson refused without hesitation. He insisted on following me. Orson owes a great debt to war goddess Isla and is willing to serve by her side for life. Before I could say anything, the Fox King was the first to object. Besides the Fox King, Orson is the only red fox in the Fox clan. If he follows me, the Fox clan will lose its heir. I signaled the Fox King to keep calm, then turned to examine Orson. "Do you really want to follow me?" Orson nodded firmly. At this moment, his eyes were only on me. I suddenly realized he could completely belong to me. I curled my lips into a smile. "All right, I'll take you." Orson's eyes sparkled with radiant joy. He quickly stood behind me, afraid that if he was a step too slow, I would abandon him. Father put on his stern face again and scolded me, "Isla, how could you take the future Fox King as your spirit pet?" Orson tugged at my sleeve and said urgently, "Master, Orson doesn't want to be the Fox King. Orson only wants to be your spirit pet." I patted his hand soothingly. "Fox King, the Fox tribe can have other red foxes. I intend to pass the bloodline tempering method to the Fox King." When my mother created this spell, she intended to pass it on to all clans. It was the father who secretly obstructed and took it for himself. The Fox King was overjoyed. Under my father's displeased gaze, I taught the magic to the Fox King. The Fox King kept thanking me, but Laszlo suddenly turned hostile. He completely transformed into his true fox form, baring his sharp claws to shred the taming collar around his neck. Then, he pounced at his sister. Laszlo's gaze was fierce. "Give my cultivation back to me." The sister turned pale with fright, screaming in terror, "Laszlo, as a spirit beast, how dare you rebel against your superior?" I raised My eyebrows slightly, not at all surprised. Laszlo is inherently a selfish person at heart. He saw through his sister's true nature and no longer wanted to be her spirit pet. The Fox King has already mastered the art of bloodline refinement. If Laszlo can regain his cultivation, he can break the spirit pet contract with his sister. He begged the Fox King to refine his bloodline for him, still holding hope to reclaim the Fox King's throne, thus, ignoring his sister's agonized cries, his front claws unhesitatingly plunged into her dantian. In moments, his sister's life-bound golden core would fall into his grasp. The father was startled and swiftly intervened. A sword slash was unleashed unexpectedly. The sister happened to struggle at that moment, and the sword strike landed directly on her vital golden core. Crack, the vital golden core was shattered. The sister let out a scream, her life hanging by a thread. Laszlo's face turned pale as he tried to flee, but was restrained by his father. The father carefully picked up his sister, Tamsin. He desperately channeled spiritual energy to his sister without regard for his own life, but the natal golden core is shattered, and the spiritual energy father gave to sister can barely sustain her vitality. Father pleaded with me in panic. Isla, quickly save Tamsin. She is your sister. You can't stand by and watch her die. Sister also weakly begged. Little sister, I beg you, save me, for my sister's sake. Father spoke softly to me. For the first time, I wasn't happy at all. On the contrary, I felt so miserable that my eyes grew moist. Suppressing the ache in my heart, I said, only one thing can save sister. Father and older sister looked over expectantly. I slowly uttered 4 words. 9 revolutions golden elixir. The only thing that can save my sister is the divine medicine left by my mother. The 9 revolutions golden elixir. Both of them froze in place. I shook my head regretfully. What a pity. The 9 revolutions golden elixir has already been consumed by Laszlo, its medicinal potency now fused with his flesh and blood. However, if Laszlo were to bleed daily for my sister to drink, spending 8 to 10 centuries, my sister's injuries could be completely healed. Merely the injuries would be healed. That's all. No longer able to cultivate and form a golden core, a useless person for life. Father and sister turned their heads in unison, their bloodthirsty gazes falling upon Laszlo. Laszlo scrambled backward on all fours, only to have his arm seized by his father. He slit Laszlo's wrist and drew a bowl of blood for his sister. Sister's vitality has indeed stabilized. Father relaxed slightly, fearing Laszlo might escape again, so he put a sturdier beast-taming collar on Laszlo. Laszlo glared at me resentfully. Isla, you deliberately set me up, I said indifferently. You took the 9 revolutions golden core willingly, and it was you who dug out your sister's life core to regain your cultivation. What does it have to do with me? Laszlo froze, his head drooping. Father brought sister and Laszlo back to the Phoenix Manor. Having nothing better to do, I naturally went back to watch the commotion. The Fox King personally escorted us back, speaking to father with a half-smile. Phoenix King, you are such a devoted father, raising Isla so well. One day, she will surely ascend to immortality. Though it sounds like flattery, it's actually sarcasm. Mocking her father, the sister who was truly nurtured with care turned out worthless. The daughter who wasn't properly raised instead became a war goddess. Father's face darkened, sister's expression twisted as she secretly glared at me. Orson stepped in front of me and glared back at her unapologetically amused. I patted Orson's hand. He instantly became docile. Seeing this, the elder sister immediately slapped Laszlo. Who are you showing that long face to? Laszlo had no choice but to force a smile. His sister once again despised his ugly smile. In the end, Laszlo lowered his head in humiliation, allowing his sister to scold and hit him. After returning to the mansion, Laszlo's life became even more miserable. When they saw him again, he had gained several pounds, and his clothes were stretched to the point of bursting. Gaining weight doesn't mean he's doing well. Rather, his sister needed his blood to sustain her life, and their father, fearing he might die from daily blood loss, force-fed him tonics all day long. Just as mortals raise pigs, so did his father raise him. His sister, on the other hand, was frighteningly thin. Her face was sallow, and her clothes hung loosely on her frame like a skeleton. Compared to me, she looked like an old woman in her twilight years. My sister regarded me with both hatred and fear, her eyes betraying obvious inferiority. Isla, are you happy to see me reduced to this state? I didn't hide my emotions, letting out a derisive laugh. It was quite satisfying. Thought they could steal the spirit beast I had my eye on, only to shatter their golden core and lose all their cultivation. Sister's face turned pale, then flushed with anger as she spun around in resentment. She untied the beast-taming whip from her waist and lashed Laszlo fiercely with it. It's all your fault. For a lowly yellow-furred fox to become my spirit pet is a blessing you've earned over 8 lifetimes. How dare you injure me? My sister vented her hatred for me onto Laszlo as well. Laszlo was thrashed so badly he writhed on the ground. She gave Laszlo a vicious beating, then stormed off in a huff. Laszlo lay sprawled on the ground, staring blankly at the sky without moving for what felt like ages. I watched him quietly. Moments later, Laszlo struggled to get up. Isla, I know I was wrong. No, you've been reborn too. For the sake of our past relationship, please save me. Okay. He reached out to grab my leg. Orson kicked him away with one foot. You're not worthy to touch Isla, Laszlo retorted. She chose me first. I couldn't help but laugh. What if I choose you? Our bond was exhausted the moment you killed me. I'm willing to elevate you. You're the Fox King. If I ignore you, what worth do you even have? Laszlo, don't you know you're just a talentless wretch with terrible potential? Laszlo curled up in pain, banging his head against the ground. He wished he could die from regret, but he couldn't bear to die. He returned to his sister's side once more. Unsurprisingly, it resulted in a brutal beating. Don't want me, want to follow Isla instead. Do they even want trash like you? The older sister cursed angrily while viciously swinging her whip. I leaned against the window, listening with great interest to the distant sound of whipping. Orson entered the room with light footsteps. He held out a vibrant bouquet of flowers to me. The dim room came alive with this bunch of flowers. He asked, "Do you like it?" He happily placed the flowers in the vase and eagerly massaged my shoulders, not forgetting to pledge his loyalty. Master, you've given me a new life. 5. I will always follow you and obey your words. On the way back to Phoenix Manor, Orson had already told me about his story. Due to bloodline limitations, he was unable to take human form for a long time. His parents abandoned him. If I hadn't refined his bloodline for him, he would have remained an ordinary fox until death, living in a daze. If lucky, he would die of old age. If unlucky, he would be killed by natural predators. Because of me, he cultivated to take human form, pouring all his passion into me. How ironic it seems. In my past life, I treated Laszlo so well, only to be repaid with his betrayal. Now, with just a casual bloodline refinement spell, Orson has become utterly devoted to me. Gazing into his sparkling eyes, I took Orson's hand. I asked softly, Orson, what do you want? Perhaps I could try being kind to someone again. Orson's eyes rolled. Master, will you give me anything I want? I thought for a moment. It depends. If he wants my heart again, I'll never share half of it with him anymore. Such foolishness. Once is more than enough. Orson's face gradually turned red. I want my master. Orson grew increasingly uneasy, yet stubbornly maintained eye contact with me, fingers gently twirling around my hair. After a long while, I slowly nodded. Orson's alluring fox-like eyes were filled with joy. Thank you, master. He scooped me up in his arms. I gasped and grabbed his arm. Only when I pinched the flesh on his arm did I realize Orson was just deceptively lean. His muscles were quite firm and, as it turned out, Orson was not only physically solid but also remarkably strong. For 5 consecutive days, he clung to me every moment, gazing at me with those moist eyes. I couldn't bear to refuse, but I truly couldn't take it anymore. I had no choice but to hide away. Never expected to see Laszlo the moment I stepped out. He was very flustered. Isla, I accidentally hurt Tamsin. Could you go check on her? If Phoenix King finds out about this, he'll definitely kill me. Orson ran out, grabbed my sleeve, and shook his head at me. Master, beware of deception. Laszlo glared at Orson and continued to plead with me. Isla, you can ignore me, but Tamsin will always be your sister. I seemed to be swayed by his words. After a moment's hesitation, I nodded. Laszlo gave Orson a provocative smile. Orson ignored him, sticking close to me without a step between us. The sister's room was in complete disarray. She lay on the floor with her back to the door. Orson urged me to hurry and save my sister. However, the moment I stepped into the room, my sister suddenly jumped up from the floor. Laszlo was the last to enter, closing the door behind him. Countless spiritual energy short swords appeared above my head. If they were to fall, they could pierce me like a sieve. My sister's eyes were full of excitement, yet also some concern. Laszlo, can this sword formation really kill her? Laszlo was confident and extremely certain. This is the immortal slaying sword formation, capable of destroying even a great golden immortal. I know about this sword formation in a previous life. Laszlo obtained it from a secret realm in my leisure time. I even helped him refine and perfect it. Never did I expect he would ultimately use this sword formation against me. I curled my lips slightly. Laszlo said to his sister, "You and Isla are sisters bound by blood. Kill her, absorb her golden core, and you can continue your cultivation." Then he turned to me with a bitter smile. "Tamsin, you have only yourself to blame. If it weren't for you standing by and watching me get used as a blood bag by the Phoenix King, I wouldn't have wanted to kill you either." His helpless tone made it seem as if I had forced him to kill me. I laughed in anger. Laszlo activates the sword formation. Spiritual energy daggers rained down like a torrential storm. Master Orson panicked and rushed forward recklessly. He grabbed hold of me, trying to shield me from the countless daggers. "Run!" As the words fell, a short sword pierced through his shoulder. I never expected him to step in front of me. With mixed emotions, I sighed and summoned my spear. The god of war spear manifests, its murderous aura radiating outward. The spiritual energy dagger vanishes without a trace in an instant. 6. I gripped the spear and sneer. "Did you think I earned my title as god of war through child's play? You think this mere sword formation can kill me?" Wishful thinking. Laszlo refused to believe the scene before his eyes. "This is the immortal slaying sword formation." I leveled my spear, unleashing the aura of a war god. How could there be an immortal slaying sword array in a world without immortals? It's merely a more powerful spiritual energy sword formation. This minor realm I'm in cannot withstand the pressure of an immortal's might. Therefore, once ascended, one must leave this world, never able to return. With my left hand supporting Orson, I swung my right hand. The war god's spear precisely pierced through Laszlo's shoulder. The sister turned pale with fright and tried to flee. Before she could turn around, she was already pinned to the ground by the god of war's spear. When their father rushed over upon hearing the news, he saw Laszlo and his sister skewered together by the long spear. The father wanted to vent his rage. The god of war spear swayed slightly. The elder sister cried out in pain. Father's face twitched, but he wisely suppressed his anger in the end. He pleaded humbly on behalf of his sister. "Isla, Tamsin is still your sister after all. Please spare her this once. You're a mighty war god. Killing your own sister would tarnish your reputation." I lazily propped my chin on my hand. "I can let her go, but it must be exchanged for the silver spear forged by my mother. After I was born, my mother once forged a silver spear for me." Tamsin took a liking to it, so my father kept the silver spear, intending to give it to Tamsin. In the end, my father traded the silver spear for Tamsin's life. As for Laszlo, he's utterly useless, only fit to be his sister's blood bag. I no longer care whether he lives or dies. Return to my cave abode. I feed Orson a healing pill. He took the opportunity to hold my fingers. "Master, you're truly amazing." His eyes sparkled with admiration for me. I ruffled his hair. Seeing that I didn't push him away, he immediately pushed his luck, pressing their entire body against me. "Orson, why did you take the sword from me? Afraid you'd get hurt?" His voice was muffled. "You already have enough scars. I don't want to see you get hurt again." I pursed my lips and wrapped my arms around his waist. Orson looked puzzled. "Master, why not leave this place? You clearly don't like it here." I replied softly. "Something has been suppressing me. I need to deal with it." That day, my father summoned me to his cave abode. As I approached the entrance, I saw a fox tied up in the corner, like a watchdog. It was Laszlo. Now, he doesn't even have the right to shape-shift into human form in front of his sister. Father prepared a sumptuous meal. He smiled kindly and kept putting food on my plate. Sister sat aside, pouting in grievance. "Dad, why are you only serving food to little sister?" Father glared at her, telling her to behave. The elder sister grew even more aggrieved, her eyes turning red. In the past, Father would have already comforted her with pity. Today, he didn't have time to attend to it. I could patiently watch my father play the loving role. "Father, I've been fasting for years. When I was little, I really enjoyed eating. However, I was not favored by my father, nor did I have a mother's care. The meals sent from the kitchen were very perfunctory. They tasted terrible. When I complained to my father, I was instead scolded by him. Seeing this, the kitchen gradually stopped sending me meals. When sent to the demon-slaying battlefield, there was even less to eat. Gradually, I lost interest in anything edible and only consumed fasting pills. Father could no longer maintain his act of paternal kindness. He stated his purpose with a cheerful laugh. Isla, your sister's true form is a golden pheasant. Can you help her refine her bloodline to transform into a phoenix? My sister, forgetting her grievances, stared straight at me. Father's face darkened as he suppressed his anger. If it's because Tamsin has repeatedly offended you, I'll make her kneel and apologize to you. I only ask that you help her for the sake of sisterhood. My sister immediately tried to kneel before me, yet, her hands gripped the table, and her knees refused to bend for the longest time. I ignored her unnecessary theatrics. Father, the bloodline tempering method can only be used on those capable of cultivation. Father was puzzled. Tamsin can cultivate too. She even formed a golden core. I extended my finger and shook it. Sister could do it before, but not anymore. She's a cripple now. Her golden core is shattered, I said gloomily, and it was shattered by Father's own hands. Father froze in place. Sister covered her mouth and ran away crying. Father's gaze darkened. His eyes filled with murderous intent toward me. He took a deep breath, suppressed it, and hurried after. Sister, Orson held my hand. Master, don't be sad. I smiled at him. I'm not. My heart that yearned for paternal love had long been dead. Orson didn't believe me and tried every way to comfort me. He asked me what I liked to eat. I thought for a long time but couldn't come up with anything. He personally cooked a whole table of dishes and had me try them one by one. Master, take your time eating and choosing. His smile was so warm, gradually filling the emptiness in my heart. My spirit pet keeps finding new ways to cheer me up, while my sister wants to kill hers, but my sister still needs Laszlo's blood, can only vent anger by beating Laszlo daily. Her father told her not to beat Laszlo to death, but she even resented her father for it. She screamed hysterically, if you had put more effort into me, I could have been great too. Now it's done, I'll forever be trampled under Isla's feet. How could a golden pheasant ever compare to a phoenix? 7. Father was so angry he stormed off in a huff. Having seen this farce, I lost all interest. I was reborn in this life not to be entangled with them. I want to leave for a while to clear my mind. Unexpectedly, on the day before my departure, a loud explosion suddenly came from my father's cave abode. Immediately after, the spiritual energy in the Phoenix King's residence went out of control and ran wild. I immediately summoned the war god spear to suppress the rampaging spiritual energy. By the time I rushed to my father's cave, his body was covered in blood. Father gasped heavily, your sister has gone mad. Following his gaze, the first thing I saw were the tail feathers belonging to a phoenix, dazzlingly brilliant. Looking further up, there was a completely naked chicken. In an instant, I understood in my heart, this creature with phoenix tail feathers but completely featherless on its body was my sister. She had used the bloodline refinement method on herself. Who would have thought that only the tail became a phoenix's tail, while the rest turned into a common chicken on mortal dining tables? Laszlo was pinned under his sister's claw, letting out faint cries for help. Save me, save me. His sister's eyes were bloodshot. Why can't I be reborn as a phoenix? It was you who plotted against me, wasn't it? I knew it. You were never truly loyal to me. The elder sister shifted the responsibility of bloodline refinement onto Laszlo. She opened her bird-like beak toward Laszlo, revealing rows of needle-thin fangs, sunk its teeth into Laszlo's neck in one bite. Laszlo's limbs twitched, his eyes filled with regret. Isla, if there's a next time, I coldly interrupted him. There won't be a next time. He could never be reborn again. The sister bit through Laszlo's throat, devouring his flesh bite by bite. The father approached. Isla, only you can save Tamsin now. His expression turned fierce as he swung the long sword. Orson was about to strike, but I reached out to stop him. I let my father's long sword slice off a piece of flesh from my arm. Father threw my flesh to my sister. Tamsin, quickly eat Isla's phoenix meat. The elder sister stretched her neck, opened her mouth, and swallowed the meat. Her aura surged violently as phoenix tail feathers fell off. Black feathers unexpectedly grew all over her body. She has gone mad. My sister flapped her wings and charged at me. I swung my war god spear, but my sister pinned it to the ground with her claw. Isla, you're no match for me. The father urged his sister, stop the nonsense, kill her quickly. The sister took flight, her bird-like claws wreathed in dark energy. As she soared into the air, the sky churned with wind and rolling thunder. With my hands forming seals, I gave a cold smile. My cultivation talent is even better than my mother's. The heavenly Tao fears the Phoenix clan gaining another ascendant, which would make them overwhelmingly dominant, so it has been suppressing me. Only after I slay 1,000,000 demons will the heavenly Tao release me. I've already exterminated all the demons on the battlefield. I'm just missing the final one. You've truly fallen into demonic ways. My days of waiting haven't been in vain. I stayed at the Phoenix Manor precisely for this day. My sister widened her eyes in shock and tried to turn around to flee. I summoned the silver spear my mother left me. A bullet pierced through the sister. The sister let out a shrill cry before her bird form heavily crashed to the ground. Tamsin. The father turned pale with shock. He lunged forward, but the moment his hand touched his sister, his eyes suddenly widened in shock. Slowly lowering his head, he saw his sister's talon-like hand had plunged into his dantian. His sister roared with furious resentment. Back then, you abandoned me and mother just to serve a more powerful master. You keep claiming to love me, yet you've turned me into a useless waste while molding Isla into a war goddess. You deserve to die. Elder sister crushed father's life-core golden pill in her grip. Father never imagined he'd die by his daughter's hand, and blankly breathed his last. I sent my sister to her demise with a single shot, scattering her soul. I didn't even give her a chance for reincarnation. With my father dead, I became the new Phoenix King of the Phoenix clan. In the past, to make my sister appear more outstanding, my father secretly suppressed the talented younger generation of the Phoenix clan, causing the Phoenix clan to face a shortage of successors. I spent 100 years finally nurturing a group of talents. I selected the new Phoenix King and took Orson into seclusion for cultivation. Without the suppression of heavenly laws, my cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds. After 1,000 years, I finally ascended to immortality. As I crossed the celestial bridge, I saw my mother waiting at its end. She asked me, "My child, do you resent me for leaving you behind when I ascended alone? I know you've always been watching over me. You gave me a second chance at life. In my past life, I resented my mother, but after being reborn, I understood my mother's choice. She was my mother, but more importantly, she was herself. A brilliant and extraordinary cultivator. She didn't accompany me, yet she protected me in her own way. Divine elixirs, blood-tempering spells, silver spears. Before ascending, she left me many things. After ascending, she never stopped watching over me." The mother smiled with relief. She looked at Orson. "Is this your spirit pet?" I held Orson's hand. "Yes, he's very good." Orson smiled at me. Mother nodded. "As an immortal, your responsibilities are greater. The fate of all living beings rests on your shoulders. You must never slack off or act willfully." I nodded solemnly. "I'll be a proper immortal." Story 2. On the 10th day of the zombie outbreak, I rejected George's confession unexpectedly. He turned around and pushed me into the midst of the zombies. Then, holding his so-called dear younger sister in his arms, he said to me, "I've awakened my superpower. You, a burden, can get lost now." 01. At this moment, I was pushed out of the car by George and fell heavily to the ground. My entire back was stabbed by glass shards. The shadows of a large group of zombies appeared around me, and I could only watch helplessly as he and Layla drove away. There was no time to be angry about their betrayal. I told myself that I had to stay calm, especially at such a moment, while holding my breath. I gripped the stun gun in my hand tightly and my gaze fell on the stairs of the overpass not far away. I had exhausted almost all of my physical strength in the previous battle. Moreover, these zombies had clearly evolved compared to those a few days ago. They were much more agile in speed. Those that I had knocked down earlier actually all regained their mobility in a short period of time. Sweat dripped down my forehead and ran down my cheeks. I took out my phone, pressed the emergency call number, turned on the speakerphone, and with all my strength, threw it behind the zombies in the second before the ringtone rang. Beep, beep, beep. Some of the zombies immediately turned around when they heard the commotion and crouched on the ground in a strange posture, gnawing and biting. Taking advantage of this gap, I did a forward roll, jumped up, and severely struck the heads of the zombies with the stun gun. Then I quickly ran towards the stairs of the overpass. However, I couldn't match their speed. When I climbed onto the overpass, a group of zombies chased after me from behind. They let out ear-piercing roars, as if they were summoning their companions. As expected, All the zombies below looked up in my direction and then rushed up frantically. This was the second time I felt despair. The first time was when that brainless Layla opened the school gate on the third day of the zombie outbreak, causing some homesick students to run out. At that time, we only thought it was a virus similar to the one that appeared 30 years ago. I, along with several teachers who hadn't had time to leave, went out to get medical masks, protective suits, and other supplies. When we came back, there were already corpses lying all over outside the school gate. Blood flowed on the ground along their bodies. Those young faces were all filled with expressions of horror, and every pair of eyes was full of despair. The students in the teaching building were also frightened and hugged each other, crying loudly. We reported the situation to our superiors and received the reply that we should quickly dispose of the corpses. Uniformly, there were no extra words, which made it difficult for every teacher among us to accept. There were a total of 77 lives. At that moment, I suddenly began to doubt myself. Did I really have the ability to protect them? Now, I was about to have the same fate as them. My arm was grabbed by a filthy hand. While my sleeve was being torn, another zombie took a bite at my neck. Just as I was about to bid farewell to this world, a searing heat burned my hand. The zombies in front of me let out howls and retreated one after another. Jump down, a voice came from below. Without thinking much, I jumped off the overpass and landed right on a Jeep truck. The zombies on the bridge jumped down right after me. I was stuffed with a machete in my hand and swung it without hesitation. Attack their heads. Second, keep using the flamethrower. Fourth, quickly lower the speaker. The car made a sharp turn and I almost fell out. The man beside me pulled me and raised the flamethrower, spraying flames at the zombies beside the car. Eardrum-piercing rock music blared from the speaker, and the zombies behind us were attracted by it. Only then were we able to escape smoothly. Let me introduce myself. My name is Jason. Eleanor. We shook hands, and only then did I notice that the back of my hand had blistered, and there was also a distinct pain in my ear. Sorry, it was a last resort. Thank you for saving me. Compared to these minor injuries, my life was more important. The car made several twists and turns and finally stopped at a popular online check-in place in the city, a luxurious villa. Unlike what it looked like online, the outside of the villa had been reinforced layer by layer. The electric fence was visually more than 5 meters high, and the gate was bulletproof. My heart sank. Today, I went with George and Layla to pick up the bulletproof door and the electric fence. After getting the goods, I asked the two of them to go back first. George offered to go with me to pick up vegetables and flour. After leaving the flour mill, we encountered zombies. George, who was originally powerless, suddenly became fierce and took down a zombie with his bare hands. At that time, I was still in the car. When he was at a disadvantage, I stepped on the gas pedal and knocked down the zombie in front of him, and Layla came back at this moment. She was so scared by the scene in front of her that she was frozen in place, seeing that she was surrounded by zombies. I could only get out of the car to save her, but I didn't expect that after she got in the car, she directly closed the car door, and that scumbag George actually told me that he had awakened his superpower and left me there to die. Eleanor, come in quickly. Jason and the others also went out to look for supplies today. I took the box of instant noodles from his hand with one hand and found that there were obvious bloodstains on it. There were about 40 or 50 people in the villa, and children of kindergarten age accounted for more than half of them. When their parents entrusted them to us, they had already been bitten. My heart felt heavy, and I blurted out involuntarily, July 15th. On that day, a female student I was in charge of didn't die immediately after being bitten. She held my hand and said, Teacher Eleanor, tell my mom that I will always love her. Although her pupils had already dilated, she kept shouting, Mom, Mom. The man in front of me looked surprised, and then showed a suspicious expression. Second, fourth, come over for a review. The others take care of the children. The man's name was Isaac. He looked good, but he was very cold. It was him who was driving and giving commands just now. He was the leader of these people. Jason was the second, and the one who dropped the speaker was the fourth, James. These two were twins, but they didn't look alike at all. Jason was relatively more cheerful, while James was taciturn. The zombies today seemed to have mutated again. Jason pulled out a writing board, on which the situation after the zombie outbreak was clearly marked. On July 10th, a series of people in the city suddenly fell into a coma and died during the process of being sent to the hospital for treatment. On July 14th, the corpses that hadn't been cremated in time suddenly came back to life and were aggressive. Characteristics: they bite people, move slowly, have no vision, and weak hearing and sense of smell. On July 15th, those who were bitten by the zombies had symptoms of mutation but didn't die immediately. They even still had some personal consciousness. On July 16th, their mobility increased. They still had no vision, their hearing and sense of smell were the same as ordinary people's, and they had no remaining consciousness. On July 17th, after being bitten, they completely lost their consciousness and would immediately attack living people. On July 20th, they had very strong speed and attack power and would chase living people relying on their sense of smell and hearing, and they're afraid of fire. Jason added 2 more words at the end: they can call for their companions. I hesitated for a moment but still told them about my situation at that time, and from July 17th until today, the streets have been unnaturally quiet. That's because the government carried out a unified destruction of the zombies. James blurted out, "True, but these zombies today aren't the same as the previous ones." "How do you know?" Isaac looked at me. "Because I saw some of them this morning. It was at the bulletproof door factory area. That uncle was a comrade in arms of my father. Before I left, he even said that he would ask my father to treat him to a drink in the future, and I, with my own hands, smashed his head with a shovel. The streets have been very quiet these past few days." "Yes, that's why we went out to look for supplies today." James was taken aback for a moment. "Do you mean these zombies were artificially cultivated?" "James," Isaac stopped him. After looking at me, he stood up. "Let's eat first." "Jason, can you lend me your phone?" Jason glanced at Isaac's back and secretly stuffed his phone into my hand. "The password is 9527. I dialed the phone number of my student, Julian. The other end picked up the phone quickly. "It's me, sis." The other party was very excited. "Are you in a position to talk?" "I'm eating, sis. Teacher George found a lot of food for us, and we're all together now. There's something wrong with George and Layla. If anything happens, you can call this number." "Got it, sis. I will definitely listen to the teacher." "How's home?" "I'm fine. Don't tell them I'm still alive. Take care of yourself." "Okay, sis. You take care of yourself too." Julian was a smart kid. This phone was my old phone. I gave it to him after the zombie outbreak so that he could contact me conveniently when I went out in the morning. He offered to go with me, but I left him at school. He was a repeat student and the oldest child in the classroom. He had strong organizational skills. It happened to be Friday on the day we discovered the intrusion of the abnormal virus. Some students were gradually picked up by their parents. I wasn't at school at that time. It was him who asked the school guard to lock the school gate and then assisted the other teachers in taking the students to the highest floor. I was very relieved to leave him at school. After that, I ran into George in the corridor. He took out a rose folded from colored paper from behind his back and said to me affectionately, "Eleanor, I like you. Be my girlfriend." I rejected him. In fact, today was the 5th time I had rejected him. He wasn't angry, though. He just muttered disappointedly, "Failed again. It seems I still need to work harder." "You're going out, right?" "I'll go with you. Your injury is healed." I remembered that he fell and hurt his arm when he went out the day before yesterday. "It's all right now." Considering that the other few teachers had worked the night shift last night, I agreed, and he suggested taking Layla with us, on the grounds of making up for his previous guilt. Now it seemed that George was already acting strangely at that time. In the past, I didn't believe in the awakening of superpowers, but now that zombies had appeared, I couldn't help but wonder if what he said was true. After stuffing some food into my stomach casually, I went to the room Jason mentioned to rest. As soon as I entered the door, I sensed something was wrong. A strong gust of wind blew towards me. Even though I had been trained by my father since I was a child, I still had some difficulty dealing with it. The other person was very powerful. As soon as we fought, he punched me in the chest. Despicable. I was burning with anger in the dark. After grabbing his clothes, I suddenly kneed him upwards. Well, he blocked it with both hands. My body involuntarily fell backward, and the next second, I was held by his long arm. This was the moment I leaned forward and bumped into him. This time, I succeeded. But I also felt dizzy. He let out a muffled groan and released me. I quickly took the opportunity to leave. but unexpectedly, I tripped over something, so, when the lights in the room turned on, I found myself lying right on top of Isaac. That guy Jason looked at a loss and fled out. Before leaving, he said, "I saw nothing, you two continue, 02, come back." Isaac probably had just taken a shower, his hair was still wet, and he had changed into a set of home clothes. From this angle, his face seemed to be red. Was he blushing? I gave him a glare and quickly got up. Jason backed in, wearing a mischievous smile. "What do you want from me?" Isaac asked. I just came to tell Eleanor that you're in the room." Looking at his ambiguous expression, I suspected that Jason had deliberately not told me that Isaac was in the room. "I'll go out first, you two talk." I subconsciously pressed my slightly painful chest and looked up to meet Isaac's unnatural gaze. "You stay, I'll go sleep in Jason's room." "No need, I don't like sleeping in a man's bed." It wasn't that I was being finicky, this was a normal reaction. Isaac gave me a strange look and took out a phone from the drawer and handed it to me. "It's for convenient contact." I was a bit surprised. "Do you plan to take me in all the time? We saw today that you were abandoned by others." His words stirred up a storm of emotions in me. I raised my hand and wanted to punch him. Jason was quick to react and grabbed me. "There were too many zombies at that time, and we weren't sure if you were an enemy or a friend. The third one was." "Jason," Isaac interrupted. "Jason, I had a rough idea of what happened." "So you were deliberately testing me just now?" I asked. "Yes." I suddenly thought he deserved a punch. I sneered and punched him in the chest. Isaac looked at me in surprise, and a complex emotion flashed in his eyes. After the little episode just now, the feeling of depression in my heart seemed to ease a bit. I walked to the window and looked outside at the pitch-black darkness. If it were a normal day, at this time, the city should be brightly lit. I thought of our old man at home. He called me a few days ago to tell me he was safe, saying that a friend had sent him a lot of food and that he could stay at home for half a year without any problem. He was someone who couldn't stay idle. I was afraid he would run around. So I promised to go on a blind date after this disaster was over. I also remembered that George wasn't actually a teacher at our school. That day, he went to find Layla. They had known each other before and even became sworn siblings. When he confessed to me for the first time, he said that he had admired me for a long time and that he had watched all the martial arts competitions I participated in. Although he seemed gentle and refined, I always felt that he wasn't as mild as he appeared on the surface, because there was ambition in his eyes. Meow, meow. A few meows brought me back to my senses. I was about to go back to my room to rest, but suddenly, the barking of dogs I heard when I went to pick up the bulletproof door and the growling of dogs at the flour mill flashed through my mind. There have been a lot of dog thieves recently. "My little black dog is gone." The words of the guy at the flour mill echoed in my ears. "Yesterday," Julian said, "the stray cats that the school took in have all disappeared these days." "They probably went to look for food," George said. "Teacher Eleanor, if we run out of food one day, would you have the heart to kill animals to satisfy your hunger?" A chill rose in my heart. I hurriedly followed the sound to look for it and finally found one at the corner of the stairs. "This is Isaac's cat. It's very obedient." The one who spoke was the woman who took care of the children during the day. If I remembered correctly, her name should be Violet. "Does he like small animals?" "No, he doesn't. That's why I've been taking care of it." Seeing my confusion, she added, "I heard that the girl he had a crush on liked small animals, so he got one. They were originally going to meet, but unfortunately, the disaster came." "That's really a pity." I examined the cat carefully. After confirming that there was nothing abnormal, I turned around and went back to my room. I hope I'm just overthinking. I was awakened by a commotion at 4 a.m. in the hall. Jason was organizing the children to go out, and several people in military uniforms were standing at the door. Violet came to say goodbye to me, saying that she was going to send the children to a safer place. "When the disaster is over, I'll treat you to skewers." "Okay." I hugged her with a smile. Suddenly, she pushed me, and then there was a piercing meow. The cat was covered in blood. It bit Violet's arm, and the next second, it turned around and bared its teeth at me. There was Violet's flesh and blood on its teeth. I was so angry that I punched it in the head. After the cat was knocked to the ground, it twitched a few times, then turned its head and got ready to pounce on me again. "It has mutated." "Eleanor, don't move." Something flew past my ear and firmly pierced the cat's abdomen. but it wasn't dead yet and frantically lunged at me. The soldier beside me had no choice but to shoot. The cat fell to the ground after being shot in the head. I quickly went to check Violet's injury. She covered her wound with a look of despair. Eleanor, if I turn into a zombie, you must kill me. I know the others can't do it. That won't happen. Blood kept gushing from her wound. Her pupils slowly dilated, and her eyes turned grayish-white at an extremely fast speed. The children were already crying from fear. Jason looked at me anxiously and decided to let the children leave first. Several ferocious dogs have appeared outside. Prepare for battle. Isaac ran downstairs. It was he who had shot the cat with a tranquilizer gun just now. Violet, hold on. In response, there was a growl from Violet. After being bitten, she was extremely strong. She directly grabbed my shoulders and tried to bite me. I desperately broke free and picked up a nearby chair and smashed it at her. Although I'm not related to Violet, I really can't bring myself to kill her, but my instincts compelled me to fight back, and I couldn't bear to look at her. Since the zombie outbreak, I've been filled with hatred all the time. I hate where this virus came from. I hate that I don't have the ability to protect the people around me. I saw the machete that Jason gave me yesterday. While I was struggling internally, I had already swung it at Violet's neck. The battle lasted almost an hour. The children were evacuated safely, and although the others were exhausted, fortunately, no one was injured. Where's Violet? Gone. Why didn't I see her at the main gate? Jason asked me weakly. I glanced at him and turned to go upstairs. The fire in the backyard was still burning. I saw Isaac and the others walking over. James knelt on the ground and kowtowed 3 times. Then looked up in my direction. There was accusation in his eyes. I couldn't face them. I put down the phone Isaac gave me and prepared to leave. Violet is James and Jason's cousin and also the fiancée of the third one. Before he died, the third one asked me to take good care of her. Isaac's voice was desolate. At first, we also wanted to do our best to save those strangers, but they pushed the third one out. We made an agreement that we wouldn't save people easily anymore, except for children, but when we saw you being abandoned that day, we still rushed over without hesitation. What are you trying to say? I turned back to look at him. Actually, most of our decisions are just based on instinct, so you don't have to blame yourself. Even if you hadn't done it, one of the 3 of us would have had to. Perhaps we should even thank you. Stay. Isaac stuffed the phone back into my hand. I wanted to say something to him, but my throat felt as if it was blocked by a stone. Finally, I made peace with myself, went downstairs, and started cleaning the blood on the ground. Otherwise, zombies might be attracted by the smell. Eleanor, it's your call. Jason suddenly came over. I thought it should be Julian. Teacher Eleanor, a stray cat got into the school, and several classmates were bitten. George is acting very strangely. I saw him injecting himself with something, and then he defeated several zombies on his own. Me and the classmates ran to the top floor and locked the door. Teacher Eleanor, don't come back. There was a lot of noise on the other end, and Julian was out of breath throughout. Julian, Isaac asked. Are you Julian? Brother, take care of yourself. We're coming to save you right away. Don't come, brother. The school gate has been opened, and we can't escape. The call suddenly cut off. I was extremely anxious, and Isaac looked grave. We have to go back. We must go back. 03, Eleanor, hide behind me later, on the way. Isaac said to me very seriously. There were emotions in his deep eyes that I couldn't understand. The school gate was wide open, and we could faintly hear screams from inside. There was a haze of smoke on the top floor. We parked the car in a hidden place and the 4 of us walked in with our backs to each other. The air was filled with the smell of blood. When we reached the corner of the stairs, a person suddenly appeared in front of us. It was a girl from the next class. She bared her teeth at us. Before she could let out a scream, Isaac smashed her head with a stick. My heart trembled, and my nails dug deeply into my palm. There were 7 or 8 zombies wandering in the corridors of the 2nd and 3rd floors, and the rest seemed to be locked in the classrooms. Isaac made a gesture of encirclement to us. 3, 2, 1. Each of us dealt with 2 zombies, and we solved them smoothly. Blood dripped onto the ground from the tip of the machete. I tried my best to turn myself into a machine that forgets they were once my students. The zombies in the classroom started to growl, and the sound of chaotic footsteps came from upstairs. Not good. hide quickly. There happened to be an empty classroom, and the four of us immediately hid inside, taking advantage of this break. I continued to text Julian, still no reply. What about climbing up the outer wall? Jason suggested. James, I'll do it. Isaac, be careful. Don't worry, we've had training, Isaac said specifically to me. I wanted to say that I wasn't worried about James' skills, but I was afraid he would be scared by the zombies in the classroom. As expected, what I feared happened. The head of a zombie poked out of the window on the fourth floor. James was startled, loosened his grip, and fell. Isaac grabbed his hand in the nick of time. This commotion caused the zombies on the second floor to growl, and some stretched out their hands to grab his feet. Jason, seems this method won't work. James, if it doesn't work, let's use fire. I'll distract them, and the three of you go up. I didn't want to waste time here. No. Isaac grabbed my wrist and quickly let go when he realized it was inappropriate. I'm familiar with the terrain here, and I have the obligation to protect them. If I'm destined to die, I hope I die a meaningful death. When those parents called and pleaded with me to protect their children, I had already anticipated this day. I don't want to be the only one left alive. I would rather die than live like that. Okay. Isaac suddenly hugged me. Eleanor, be careful. I didn't look back at him. I hit the guardrail hard with the machete, and the zombies on the stairs swarmed towards me. I took advantage of the terrain and ran wildly on the campus. Unfortunately, at the dormitory building, I was blocked by the zombies in front of me. I gripped the machete in my hand tightly. Brother, you'll bless me, right? I had a brother who died while protecting others. I seemed to hear his answer. There was a determination in my eyes that I had never had before. To my surprise, George saved me when I was in a desperate situation. The veins on his arms bulged, and his face was contorted. Eleanor, why aren't you dead? Since you're not dead, of course I have to live. He was probably angry because he saved the wrong person, but now, we were in the same boat. If you dare to plot against me again, I'll drag you down with me even if I die. You're still so naive, but you really underestimate my strength. As if showing off, he punched a zombie's head and blew it with his bare hands. Is this the superpower he mentioned? What do you think? Awesome, right? He kept moving his hands, except for being a bit out of breath. He said, who else dares to look down on me now? I didn't bother listening to his nonsense. I attacked him while staying on guard. George managed to smash the heads of dozens of zombies in less than 10 minutes. When there was only the last one left, he gave me a sinister smile. Eleanor, can I leave this one for you? Before I could react, he had already grabbed my neck. This speed was far from that of an ordinary person. Before I die, can I ask you a question? You want to ask about my superpower, right? He looked very proud. Yes, how can one awaken it? Beg me then. Go to hell. I glanced at the top floor and closed my eyes, resigned to my fate. When I opened my eyes again, my eyes were clear. George, I beg you. Ha ha ha. Eleanor, you've finally come to this. Weren't you always so arrogant? You rejected me so many times when I confessed. Weren't you so high and mighty? But now, you're at my mercy. He threw me to the ground like trash and then punched the last zombie to death. I won't kill you. I want you to watch with your own eyes how I rule over all of you. What do you want to do? His eyes were very dangerous. Of course, I'm going to release all the zombies in the school and deal with them. Otherwise, where else can you take them? Did that mean there were still students alive? Perhaps seeing my confusion, George dragged me up again. His sticky hand stroked my cheek. Eleanor, don't you want to protect them? Be my slave, and I'll fulfill your wish. What? I can make you awaken your superpower too. My heart skipped a beat, but I said gently on the surface, okay. I followed George all the way to the 5th floor. There was a dense crowd of zombies there. George waved his arms like an indefatigable machine and easily dealt with them. It would be a lie to say I wasn't shocked, but I knew that the current George wasn't normal. When the door on the top floor opened, bright sunlight came in. Julian and the others were all there, and so was Isaac. Eleanor, come here. He watched George warily. Who are they? George asked. This is my brother and his friends. Julian was still a child after all. His eyes were red, and there were still tears on his face. The classmates huddled on the ground lit up when they saw me. Teacher Eleanor, you're finally back. A female student rushed over and hugged me. Teacher, I'm so scared. Don't be afraid. I comforted her. From now on, no one needs to be afraid. I'll protect you all. George said loudly, and your teacher Eleanor, she's my girlfriend now. There was a moment of silence. Eleanor, Isaac called me. Yes, I've agreed to be George's girlfriend. I looked at Isaac and said each word clearly, to be his girlfriend. 04. George put his arm around my shoulders and kissed my cheek with his foul, smelling mouth. Isaac took a step forward but was held back by Jason. Jason forced a smile and said to me, congratulations. George proposed killing all the zombies in the school, but Isaac objected, arguing that the remaining students shouldn't be put at risk. I can handle it alone. George was very confident in his strength. Eleanor, what do you think? I looked at the remaining 69 students in front of me, feeling extremely desolate. I agree, Teacher Eleanor. Julian looked at me disappointedly. Let's use electricity. It's too dangerous for you to go alone. I didn't want George to take the risk alone. If he died, who could I ask about the superpower? Eleanor, are you worried about me? George looked pleasantly surprised. Yes, I stared into his eyes. I want you to stay alive. He looked at me with a half-smile and then laughed loudly. Okay, since everyone trusts me, I'll do it without hesitation. We left the weaker students on the top floor and split into several groups to set up. The plan, in fact, the so-called plan was to use the weather forecast and the conductivity of water. As it was getting dark, it finally started to rain. Isaac and George took the lead and lured the zombies out of the teaching building. I took out my phone to record. George said he wanted to document his glorious moment. I watched Isaac fighting with the zombies, listened to James swearing, and felt the frightened gazes of the students around me. The moment I pulled the switch, George pushed Isaac into the midst of the zombies, just like he did to me that day. Damn it, Jason was so anxious that he wanted to go down, but I stopped him. Then we saw George pull Isaac back again, and his speed was extremely fast. His push and pull seemed to be teasing the other person. The electrocuted zombies started to twitch, looking very ridiculous, but there were also a few zombies that moved towards George and the others with clear targets. After about 10 minutes, I pulled down the switch, and George and the others began to fight back. With this combat power, is he still human? Jason exclaimed. George is so amazing. It seems that superpowers can really be awakened. The students who were crying just now had now boldly moved to the railing. They seemed to have seen hope. Compared with George, Isaac was much less impressive, but as an ordinary person, he was already very good. Julian, have you seen Teacher Layla? Teacher Layla said she went back to the dormitory to get something in the morning. Teacher Eleanor, why did you agree to be George's girlfriend? Julian was a stubborn child. What do you think? I have to admit that I'm a vulgar person. I'm just a bit disappointed. I smiled and patted his shoulder, then turned and went downstairs. Layla's dormitory was on the 3rd floor, and mine was on the 4th floor. We used to have some friendship. We would go shopping and have meals together in our free time. Although she was a bit melodramatic, she was a decent person, sure enough. Disasters really bring out the true nature of people. I stopped in front of Layla's dormitory door. The door was slightly ajar, and it was very quiet inside. I kicked the door open, and a figure rushed out from behind the door, probably intending to attack me. My skills were good enough to deal with an ordinary person. I turned her around and pinned her to the ground. George, save me. It was Layla's voice. I pressed her head hard against the ground and rubbed it until she cried and begged for mercy. Don't kill me. I know how to defeat the zombies. Really, she probably recognized my voice. Eleanor, is that you? Eleanor, weren't you dead? It's too cold down there. I came up specifically to have you keep me company. No, please don't kill me. I'll burn a lot of paper money for you. Okay, your death has nothing to do with me. She was so easily frightened that she had wet her pants. Disgusting. I got up and turned on the lights in the room. You're not a ghost. What do you think? I grinned at her and knocked her out with a punch. There were bottles and jars on the table, along with syringes. My first thought was that Layla had the nerve to engage in illegal activities, but looking at her wet pants, I thought it was unlikely. Just as I was about to take them away for study, a sharp pain shot through my neck, and my body involuntarily fell to the ground. Eleanor, why don't you just die? She kicked me several times and then started rustling around to change her clothes. If it weren't for the fact that this injection affects fertility, Layla, could also become a savior. That bastard George thinks he's so amazing, but he still has to please others, and he talks about superpowers. Aha, the apocalypse is all fake. and superpowers are nothing. The apocalypse is fake. I rubbed my neck and asked, of course, if no one deliberately released the virus, where would this apocalypse come from? Is that so? I grabbed Layla by the neck, although I had suspected it before. I still didn't want to believe it. Cough, don't kill me. Well, it depends on how sincere you are. 05, when we got back to the teaching building, all the zombies had been eliminated. Isaac was kneeling on the ground gasping for breath, while George shouted confidently towards the top floor, "Don't be afraid, classmates, all the zombies have died. You are safe." Looking at his confident appearance, I really wished I had a gun in my hand to blow his brains out. Safe, trapped in this small place, can we really survive the disaster? The answer was no, George. I picked up the coat he had dropped on the ground. Are you hurt? How could I get hurt? Where did you go just now? Where's Layla? I asked him, his face darkened, and he grabbed my hand with his blood-stained one. Why are you looking for her? I didn't hide my disgust. She locked me out. Of course I want to get even, George laughed. This is the Eleanor I know. Don't worry, I'll take you to see her later. I hope you don't forget our agreement. I didn't fully trust him. Are you two done? Can you hurry up and clean up the bodies? Everyone from the top floor had come down. James looked at George and me with a bad expression. I was on the front line. Now it's your turn. With that, he pulled me towards the office on the first floor. After closing the door, George washed his face first and then leaned back in the chair, looking a bit tired. Eleanor, come and give me a shoulder rub, will you, George? When are you going to fulfill what you promised me? He closed his eyes and leaned comfortably against me, his wandering hand covering mine. Don't be in a hurry, let me rest for one night first. I suppressed my anger and was about to go out and help the others, but George grabbed me, and I fell onto his lap. Eleanor, if you want to gain power, shouldn't you show me your sincerity? A chill slowly crept up from my abdomen. I closed my eyes, resigned to my fate. 06, what are you doing? The door was kicked open from the outside, and Isaac appeared at the door, looking furious. What a buzzkill. George slapped my thigh, flexed his wrists, and looked ready for a fight. Taking advantage of him turning around, I stabbed the syringe filled with anesthetic into his neck. He turned around and punched me as soon as he felt the pain. It hurt badly. Then he kicked me away. Isaac, stop him. A stream of warm blood flowed down my forehead, carrying a faint smell of blood. Isaac didn't hesitate and started fighting with George. Seeing that George was only a bit slower, I knew the dose wasn't enough. Gritting my teeth against the pain, I joined the fight and gave him another injection of anesthetic. Jason and James rushed over when they heard the commotion. After exchanging a glance, they helped tie George up. You two go out and don't let anyone else come near here. We'll interrogate him later. Isaac and I looked at each other, and he spoke first. You only agreed to be his girlfriend out of necessity, right? Yes, he knows the truth about the zombie virus outbreak. What? Isaac was shocked. He had thought I was just trying to deal with George and had to compromise because of his abilities. I stuffed George's mouth with a smelly sock. Even though he had been injected with anesthetic, he was still conscious. Not wanting to waste time, I pressed my machete against his neck. Tell me what this so-called awakening of superpowers is all about. Fear showed in his cloudy eyes, and he nodded repeatedly. I took out the sock from his mouth and turned on the voice recording on my phone. I actually came back from the future. I was born with superpowers. There's a price to pay for spouting nonsense. I stepped on his groin, and Isaac beside me flinched and sat up straight, pressing his legs together. It hurts so much. George took about 3 minutes to recover, with cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. I'll tell you everything. Should have done this earlier. George's story was short, but I was filled with anger after hearing it. He had borrowed money from loan sharks because of gambling, and the person who lent him the money told him there was a way to avoid repayment by doing certain things at a specific time. For example, on July 10th, he went to a crowded place and spread the virus. On that day, George came to our school and treated some students to drinks. Before that, he had appeared as my suitor, and the students, who still believed in love, were easily touched by his actions. They were a large organization, spread out all over the country. After the initial virus outbreak, they would upgrade it according to the infection situation and then release it again. That's why the zombies kept evolving. The government took swift action, so on July 20th, They chose to use animals to speed up the spread. Did they want humanity to be destroyed? Apparently not, otherwise. Why would they develop drugs that could mutate human bodies? Give me the list of those people. I'm just a small fry. How would I know that? I didn't believe him, so I stepped on the same spot again. I felt a sense of satisfaction listening to his cries. What do human lives mean to you? George grinned, his eyes glowing with a strange light. Eleanor, don't you think the world needs a reset? We work from dawn till dusk, and our bosses can decide our fates with just a single word. We work our butts off to earn money, only to spend decades of our lives paying off a house. Why should others decide our lives? Why should they have control over our fates? You're just stupid. I really wanted to crack open his skull and see if it was filled with nothing but nonsense. You have no ability but still have wild dreams. You just want something for nothing, and that's why your life is meaningless. So I want to become the strongest. I want to rule over them. I want you all to submit to me. Aren't you the same? You offered yourself to me just to get superpowers. I didn't want to listen to his nonsense, so I stuffed the smelly sock back into his mouth. Superpowers? Are you out of your mind? Look at the mess you've become. I took out a small mirror from my pocket and made him take a good look at his hideous face. Haven't you ever thought about the side effects of this drug? You probably won't live long enough to see the day you're looking forward to. It doesn't matter if you don't talk. Tomorrow morning, someone will take you away for research. Every inch of your skin will be cut open, and every drop of your blood will be drawn out. You brought this upon yourself. George whimpered for a long time, but I ignored him. Isaac was clearly shocked by the news and asked me if I had noticed something was wrong earlier. I just told him that I believed in science. Science made me disbelieve in superpowers, but since they existed, it meant someone had deliberately created them, push humanity to the brink and then appear as saviors. The original authorities would be questioned, and those with ulterior motives would take the opportunity to rise to power. Just like the disaster 30 years ago, George kept shaking and even foamed at the mouth. He couldn't die, or he would lose his value. When he spoke again, he was still annoying. No, Eleanor, don't send me for research. It's useless. The zombie virus has already broken out, and the world is about to end. Keep me here. Okay, I can help you kill zombies. I can protect you. With what? I patted his cheek. With the injections that you had Layla hide in the dormitory. How do you know? What did you do with my stuff? If he had even asked about Layla, I would have thought he was still a man. What do you think? George probably guessed that I had taken his things. He turned to Isaac and said, Dude, don't you want to be stronger? Don't you want to stop being bullied? Kill this woman. The stuff she has can make you a hero. Isaac showed some interest, stood up, and walked over to me. Is it really with you? My heart sank, and I replied expressionlessly, So. What if it is? Are you really going to kill me? The man pursed his lips, and his face darkened. My life is yours now. Are you crazy? I told you to kill her, George shouted, and in response, Isaac punched him hard. He passed out, and the office finally fell silent. Don't tell anyone about this. Protect yourselves. Don't you want it? I asked him. His face turned red, and he glanced around. It's too soon, and this isn't the right place. So he really wanted to be stronger. I gave him a look of disdain. Aren't you afraid of ending up like George? Did he touch you? What? His eyes were terrifying. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me into his arms. Isaac, what are you? Let's kill him. Okay, I won't tell anyone. I'll protect you from now on. I felt like we had misunderstood each other. Calm down. Nothing happened between him and me. I just lured him in and then attacked. Isaac stiffened for a moment and then asked me seriously. Then what you said earlier about wanting, well, I have no interest in those injections. Good, it was all cleared up, but I felt a strange heat spreading through my body, and my face was burning. We locked George in the room and had dinner with the remaining students as if nothing had happened. During the meal, a classmate asked about George. I just told them he was too tired and needed to rest. Isaac and I were waiting for George to be taken away the next day. But unexpectedly, a figure entered the office in the dead of night. 07, Teacher Eleanor. Something's wrong. George has escaped. Just as dawn broke, Julian brought the bad news. I immediately checked my backpack and found that all the injections I had taken from Layla the day before were gone. The girl who had rushed into my arms for safety the previous night, Audrey, was also missing. She even left me a note. Sorry, Teacher Eleanor. I choose to follow the strong, thinking of the rice porridge she had brought me before going to bed. My heart sank to the bottom. How ironic, the people I risked my life to protect had finally betrayed me. I locked myself in the room and didn't open the door no matter how much Isaac and the others called. Isaac came again at dinner. They're in the building across the way. If you want all your students to fall into the clutches of a wolf, then keep wallowing in self-pity. George was being extremely arrogant. To win over more students, he openly challenged me. When I got to the campus, some students were already standing behind him. Your teacher, Eleanor, only wants to become strong herself and doesn't care about your lives at all. She just wants you to follow her blindly so that you can become food for the zombies when the horde comes. As he spoke, he played a recording. How can I awaken my powers, George? I'm begging you. Immediately, the children who had been standing by my side all gave me strange looks. Their eyes seemed to say, so this is the kind of person you are. Disappointment and disdain were like a rope tightening around my neck. And no matter how much I struggled, I couldn't break free. It's different with me. I can make all of you strong and free from fear. I promise that as long as you follow me, you'll see your parents soon. As soon as he said this, an arrow whistled through the air and directly pierced into the display board next to George. I trust Eleanor. Isaac had somehow appeared by my side, followed by the Jason and James. Me too. She led us here to save you. Don't be deceived by George, everyone. Don't you remember how Teacher Eleanor has treated us? Julian came out to defend me. We haven't forgotten, but we just want to survive. What's wrong with that? Audrey looked at me with red eyes. Teacher Eleanor, I really want to go home. She had always been a timid child and rarely spoke even during PE class. Unexpectedly, her words hit everyone where it hurt. George gave me a provocative look. Next, I'll show you how to awaken your superpowers. As soon as he finished speaking, George dragged someone out from behind him. It was Layla. Her mouth was taped shut with transparent tape, and her hands were tied behind her back. George took out a syringe and injected it into Layla's arm. In just a few minutes, Layla, who had been weak and powerless, immediately stood up from the ground. Yes, stood up, because she had been lying face down before. Her hands, which had been tied behind her back, also broke free from the restraints in an instant. George, go to hell. Layla kicked George, and the two quickly got into a fight. See, this is power. This is superpower. George, am the real hero who will save you all. The two fought fiercely, and in the end, George emerged victorious. You clearly know that this drug has side effects. If they take it, they may not live long enough to see their parents, but it's better than waiting to die here, isn't it? There was madness in George's eyes. He wants everyone to die with him. Isaac comforted me, pressing my shoulders. I'll always be with you, Eleanor. You can't stop us. Look at this. He pointed at the phones in the hands of several male students and said, we've been live streaming the whole time. My heart jolted. I quickly took out my phone and checked, only to find that the live stream was on almost all platforms, and it wasn't just George. All his accomplices had transformed into so-called saviors, using the internet to mislead the public. Eleanor, join us. Let's redefine the order of this world. The seductive voice echoed through the campus. I watched helplessly as more and more people walked towards him. It seemed like an eternity passed before I heard myself say, okay, 08, Eleanor, don't go. Isaac held my hand, and the worry in his eyes was almost overwhelming. Isaac, it's my duty to protect them, and I can only keep my promise by becoming stronger. Pushing Isaac away, I walked towards George. With every step I took, I could hear Isaac's angry shouts. Eleanor, you've really disappointed me. Have you forgotten what you're loyal to? I thought you were like him. Shut up. I turned back and glared at Isaac, finally revealing the pain hidden deep in my heart. You have no right to mention him. Don't forget, he died saving you. Isaac, I've wanted to kill you since the first moment I saw you. I once had a brother who loved me. He was a soldier. He sacrificed his life to save a playful boy. And that boy was the young Isaac, so I recognized him the moment Isaac saved me. Isaac, we're even now. It started to rain heavily. Through the curtain of rain, I couldn't see the expression on Isaac's face clearly, but I knew he must have regretted saving me at that moment. The live stream continued, and the comments were polarized. Some people cursed me, while others said such a choice wasn't shameful in the face of the apocalypse. If it were me, I'd be willing to sacrifice myself as long as I could protect my family. Agreed, Eleanor, welcome to join us. George held out his hand to me, but pulled it back as I got closer. You have to show some sincerity. He handed me the syringe. Eleanor, once you inject it, there's no turning back. Isaac was still shouting. Without hesitation, I inserted the needle into my arm. A feeling of suffocation washed over me, and I staggered to my knees. I never intended to turn back. I gritted my teeth and retorted at Isaac, then began gasping for air. George seemed very satisfied with my performance. He took the wine from Audrey's hand and started drinking heartily. Come on. Let's welcome your teacher Eleanor together. Audrey came up to me and said, Teacher Eleanor, our decision was right, but I still won't forgive you. She looked at me in surprise, then smiled and took a few steps back. Eleanor, I thought you had more backbone. In response to Layla's mockery, I simply said, once you've been a lackey for too long, you forget how you used to walk on your own. How dare you abuse me? Layla was enraged and raised her hand to hit me, but George slapped her. Instead, go and get ready, Eleanor, don't be angry, let's go have dinner first, and then we'll help the children awaken their superpowers. He turned his back to me and started walking towards the cafeteria. When we sat down, George suddenly said, You know, Eleanor, I almost thought you were lying to me again. Do you think I have any other choice? He smiled triumphantly, and I was so annoyed that I ate 2 extra bowls of rice. The crucial moment arrived soon, and this live stream was even more widely spread. I could feel that George was extremely excited. He injected himself with 2 more syringes in a row. Now, it's time to witness a miracle, he boasted to the children in line, and that's when I stabbed a super concentrated anesthetic into his neck. George turned to look at me in disbelief. Eleanor, you lied to me again. Yes, I did, and now it's your end. I'll kill you. George erupted in anger and turned to attack me. No, I'll kill you. This time, I had no more scruples. Every punch landed solidly, and every move was a deadly one. I had been waiting for this moment for too long. I knew you bitch wanted to be the savior yourself. Classmates, come and help me. If I die, no one will take you home. But no one dared to move, because they heard Isaac say, Look at George now. Doesn't he look like a monster? If you take those drugs, will your parents even recognize you when you get home? These are the people who created the zombie virus. They're the ones responsible for this disaster, and their goal is to make us complete slaves, to live our entire lives in suffering and separation. Is that really the life you want? Then Isaac played the videos recorded by the parents of the surviving students. Every cry in those videos was a glimmer of hope for the students to turn back. Don't listen to their nonsense. Eleanor injected the drug herself, and she's still fine. That's because teacher Eleanor didn't actually take the drug. Audrey stepped forward. It was all just a plan between me, teacher Eleanor, and the others. Only Layla's injection was real. I gave Audrey a thumbs up, while George was stunned. I punched him again. George, haven't you noticed that you don't have much strength left, because I've already destroyed all those drugs? His expression cracked little by little, then turned into boundless anger as he charged at me. I took the opportunity to pull out the fruit knife hidden in my clothes and slashed at his neck. I missed my target and only wounded his chest. George's face contorted with rage, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Eleanor, you forgot we have many more people. You may be able to kill me, but you can't kill them all. My brothers and sisters will continue the plan to destroy the world. Really? Then take a look at the live stream. From the moment we started suspecting George, we had made comprehensive plans. We asked Audrey to get close to George and encourage them to live stream their so-called salvation, and revealed the unknown secrets between Isaac and me to intensify the conflict. Then we contacted the government troops and used the live stream to locate and capture them all at once. Even if some managed to escape, we could still deal a blow to their forces and let the public know their true nature. Fortunately, we succeeded. Upon learning the truth, George's face turned ashen, and he completely lost his will to fight. He started babbling nonsense and scratching at his body. It itches so much. Eleanor, save me. Then, in front of everyone, black blood oozed from his body, and he turned into a decaying corpse. Audrey ran over and hugged me excitedly. Teacher Eleanor, I was wrong. I shouldn't have disobeyed you. Originally, our plan was to send Julian to infiltrate George's group, but Audrey found out, she said, compared to a strong boy. A vulnerable girl who misses home is more likely to be trusted, isn't she? I was worried about her safety and didn't agree. But she went ahead on her own. The sentence she deliberately said to me earlier was a signal that the positioning was successful. Our decision was right. I hate these bastards who spread the virus. How could I ever collaborate with them? Whether it's a virus or a war, it's always the most vulnerable people at the bottom who suffer the most. Jason and his brother were calming down the students, while Isaac walked straight up to me and hugged me. He knew who I was from the moment he saved me. We tacitly pretended not to recognize each other and tried to forget those dark days. My dearest brother, his most respected senior, died saving him, and I couldn't face him anymore. Although we were only close as children, I often heard his name from my brother in the following years. My brother always said that Isaac was a great prospect for the military and that he would take me to have a meal with him someday. Unfortunately, what I got instead was, Eleanor, let's get a cat. I remember you used to like them. Okay, watch out. I had forgotten about Layla, the menace. When I saw her stab at Isaac with a knife, I instinctively pushed him away. The moment the knife pierced my skin, I seemed to understand something. Isaac held me in his arms, at a loss. He desperately tried to cover my wound, but blood gushed out through his fingers. Isaac, don't blame yourself. I just did it out of instinct, because I cared about him. When danger came, I didn't think twice. All I wanted in that moment was for him to be safe. My brother must have felt the same way back then. 09 Audrey's perspective. At that moment, I suddenly began to doubt myself. Did I really have the ability to protect them? Although the source of the virus had been effectively controlled, zombies were still rampant in various places, and began to spontaneously form rescue teams. Isaac, as the organizer of the local team, had been away for a week. Looking at teacher Eleanor, who was still unconscious in the hospital bed, I told myself to be strong. Everyone was terrified when teacher Eleanor suddenly collapsed. Fortunately, the live stream was still on, and several doctors risked their lives to rush to the school. Along with them came wave after wave of zombies. In that critical moment, we junior high school students picked up weapons and swore to protect the people we cared about. Just as teacher Eleanor once said, I didn't teach you martial arts just to keep you fit. It's more about cultivating your fighting spirit. Only by becoming strong through your own abilities can you protect the ones you love. After seeing teacher Eleanor defeat George with her own strength, everyone finally understood that anything obtained at the cost of harming oneself would eventually backfire. Teacher Eleanor, wake up quickly. I heard that Isaac has been confessed to by several girls. If you don't wake up soon, he might be snatched away. Just as I was about to go get some water to wipe teacher Eleanor's face, a weak voice came from behind me. Are you so gossipy at such a young age? Do you want me to reward you with some test papers? I turned around in disbelief and saw that teacher Eleanor had really opened her eyes. After that, my classmates and I secretly saw Isaac, who had rushed back overnight, crying his eyes out while holding teacher Eleanor in his arms, so unmanly. And then, when we were caught peeking, each of us was rewarded with a set of test papers. 10. On the 83rd day of the zombie virus outbreak, Isaac led the team out again. Actually, my physical strength has almost fully recovered, but they still don't feel at ease with me going along. Layla's ending was something I didn't expect. She actually committed suicide after stabbing me. The reason was that she thought she had lost her fertility after taking the drug and had no future. I suddenly thought she was ridiculous. She was always chasing after things that were out of reach and forgot to love herself. Looking at the rising sun in the distance, I know that although the road ahead is long, as long as we stand together, our wishes will eventually come true.